Chapter 153. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found on the internet are all available here. "Are you here to play cards?" the old lady asked. The old man was stunned. Play cards?" The old lady cracked the melon seeds and said, "We're not playing leaf cards today. Pai Gao, starting at 50 copper coins." What was the Empress Dowager saying? What leaf cards? What Pai Gao? The old man looked at the Empress Dowager and slowly stood up from the ground. He found that although the person in front of him looked like the Empress Dowager, her clothes and temperament were not like the Empress Dowager. "What are you looking at?" the old lady asked impatiently. "You don't recognize me?" the old man pointed at himself and asked. After hearing what he said, the old lady really started to look at him carefully. He looked like a human, and he looked a bit familiar. Where have I seen him? The old lady couldn't remember the past. She would occasionally recall some, but they were all very fragmented fragments. However, this old man gave her an unusual feeling. Wasn't he unusual? When the old chancellor was an official in the imperial court, he often opposed the Empress Dowager. He was a conservative and firmly opposed the imperial harem's involvement in politics, especially women's participation in politics. When the former emperor was still alive, the old chancellor had sent many memorials to persuade the former emperor to abolish the empress. In the memorials, he called the virtuous empress a demon. She messed up the imperial harem, and her relatives interfered in politics. She was also ruthless and disregarded human life. The virtuous empress was once banished to the cold palace by the former emperor because of the old chancellor. Although she walked out of the cold palace in less than half a year with her excellent skills, she lost half a year's worth of money and also lost a lot of her previous savings. Cutting off her money was like killing her parents. After that, the virtuous empress saw the old chancellor as a thorn in her side. The old chancellor was exiled to the frontier fortress for 5 years and suffered a lot. He was dried up and aged more than 10 years, which was the work of the virtuous empress. The two of them fought until the former emperor passed away. The virtuous empress killed the crown prince and supported the son of concubine Jing to ascend the throne. She became the Empress Dowager with power. The two of them had a temporary winner. The reason why it was temporary was because the old chancellor controlled the imperial college, and the imperial college gathered the most talented youths in the entire Zhao country. To exaggerate, the old chancellor controlled the future of Zhao country. Empress Dowager Zhuang deliberately wanted to seize the power of the imperial college. At that time, Anjun Wang was about to return to the country. Empress Dowager Zhuang proposed to the emperor that the position of young chancellor could be added to the imperial college. Although His Majesty agreed, the one who was conferred the title of young chancellor was not Empress Dowager Zhuang's grandnephew, but the young marquis of Zhaodu. This young marquis was the old chancellor's disciple. Empress Dowager Zhuang had 10,000 unspeakable horses galloping through her heart. The old chancellor smiled crookedly. Old chancellor seemed to have won this round. But not long after, on New Year's Eve, the imperial college suddenly caught fire and the young marquis of Zhaodu was burned alive. Ever since the old man resigned, he had not thought about the past for a long time. Now that he saw the Empress Dowager, his thoughts were pulled back to the bloody court. Puzzled, the old lady said, "Why aren't you saying anything? Why are you looking at me with such a complicated gaze? Also, after seeing you, my mood seems to have become a little complicated." It was the kind of complicated that couldn't be described. It was as if they were old enemies, and she couldn't wait to find a knife to chop him. Wait, chop him with a knife? The old lady looked at the old man suspiciously. They knew each other. This could be confirmed from his gaze and his words. He was very afraid of her. He didn't dare to look into her eyes. It seemed that he was a little guilty. He even knelt down in front of her. How sorry was he to her? "I know who you are." The old lady's mind flashed, and she threw the melon seeds on the table. "Are you the heartless man who abandoned me that year and came back to find me?" The old man, Gu Jiao, and Gu Yan came back first. When they walked through the hall, they found that there was one more person in the backyard. Gu Jiao felt that she looked familiar, mainly because there was no big shoe print on her face, so she didn't recognize her immediately. Great aunt. Gu Jiao looked at her inquiringly. The old lady glared at a certain heartless man who was shivering and sighed, "Your great-uncle." Gu Jiao, Gu Xiaoshan, Xiao Lulang, Gu Yan, and little Jing Kong entered the house after them. They were carrying bags of various sizes, and there was a horse carriage carrying New Year goods behind them. They unloaded the New Year goods from the horse carriage together with the coachman. Xiao Lulang carried a pot of sesame oil and walked in. Just like Gu Jiao and Gu Xiaoshan, he was stunned when he walked through the hall. The old lady, Gu Jiao, Gu Xiaoshan, and the old man, who wasn't shivering as much but still looked pale, were sitting in the courtyard. They had no choice. They were terrified because they had been cuckolded by the late emperor. Son-in-law, Gu Jiao introduced. Xiao Lulang, I haven't seen you for a while, and you picked up another son-in-law? Gu Jiao felt wronged. I didn't pick him up this time. Xiao Lulang looked at the old man with a complicated expression. At this moment, the old man's mind was blank. He didn't even remember that he had come to recognize Xiao Lulang. He only madly apologized to the former emperor in his heart. The relationship between the Empress Dowager and I is absolutely pure. The old lady's anger had been suppressed. She asked lightly, "Okay, let's be frank. Do we have a child?" The old man slipped from the chair and almost fell to the ground. He sat up with the help of the chair and said with a pale face, "No, no." The old lady nodded. "I think so too. Otherwise, I wouldn't have come all the way to Lulang." Xiao Lulang looked at the old man. The old man wiped his cold sweat. He had fought with Empress Dowager Zhuang for a lifetime. Today was the most difficult time. It could be said that he had no power to fight back. Empress Dowager Zhuang casually said, "When you were young, you abandoned me. Now that you are old, you want my grandnephew to raise you. There is no way. Get lost." The old man was relieved. For the first time, he felt that the word "get lost" was so pleasant to hear. The old man left the courtyard. He still had a feeling that everything was not real. He wanted to understand what was going on. He didn't leave and just waited by the door. Xiao Lulang didn't disappoint him. Not long after, he came out. The two were not surprised to see each other. It was as if they had already calculated that one would not leave and the other would not come out. Xiao Lulang was no longer as panicked as he was last time at the alley. The old man had mixed feelings. The one inside is the Empress Dowager, right? Why are you with the Empress Dowager? You don't have to admit that you are Ahung, but you can't deny that she is the Empress Dowager. The Empress Dowager is not dead. Xiao Lulang was silent. The old man sadly asked, "Why is it like this? What happened to you and the Empress Dowager?" The Empress Dowager lost her memories, but you didn't. Tell me. Xiao Lulang remained silent. The old man painfully closed his eyes. "Fine, if you don't want to say, I won't force you. I will come see you another day. Today's matter. I will keep it a secret for you." Xiao Lulang bowed and turned around to enter the courtyard. "Your leg." The old man's worried gaze fell on his right leg. Xiao Lulang stopped in his tracks. "It's not a problem." This was the only thing he said to himself. The old man felt that he had chased him out just to say these 3 words. He didn't want him to worry about him. The old man's heart was filled with sorrow. Xiao Lulang entered the courtyard, and the old man returned to the carriage. In truth, today's gain was not just seeing the Empress Dowager. He also saw his little benefactor. How could he have not expected that she and Ahung, no, it should be Lulang now. She and Lulang were actually husband and wife. What sort of fate was this? In the courtyard, the whole family uniformly looked at the old lady. "Great-aunt, granduncle really passed away. Aren't you sad?" Little Jing Kong asked. In this family, there were not many people who knew that the old lady was not Xiao Yulang's great-aunt, but Gu Xiaoshan was one of them. When the old lady fainted in front of Gu Jiao and Xiao Yulang's house, Gu Shaoshan was also present. After that, Gu Yan, Little Jingkong, Yao Shi, and the others all thought that the old lady was really Xiao Liulang's great-aunt and traveled thousands of miles to seek refuge with him. Therefore, when the young master appeared, Little Jingkong and the others believed him without any doubt. Gu Shaoshan also believed him. Because they had been together for so long, he had forgotten that his great-aunt was picked up from the streets. The old lady cracked a melon seed. Why would I be sad? I'm only at peace when he's not here. Who wants to spend the rest of their lives with an old man? Isn't it better to play cards every day? Little Jingkong said. Oh. When Gu Jiao was cooking in the kitchen, Little Jingkong sneaked in and tugged at Gu Jiao's clothes, saying, Jiao Jiao, I have something to tell you. What's the matter? Gu Jiao asked. Little Jingkong tilted his head and looked at her. Brother-in-law has a nickname, Ahung. It means hung, as in tyrannical. Although brother-in-law did not admit it, he had already decided in his heart that it was hung, as in tyrannical. Gu Jiao looked at him in amusement. Really? How did you know? Little Jingkong said, I heard it from granduncle. I saw him that day. Gu Jiao said, Oh. Little Jingkong sighed. Brother-in-law and I came back from school. We were at the entrance of the alley. Granduncle called brother-in-law hung, but brother-in-law ignored him and ran away with me. After that, I asked brother-in-law, but brother-in-law insisted that granduncle mistook him for someone else. Brother-in-law is really unfilial. Even if he doesn't want to acknowledge brother-in-law, he shouldn't treat him like that. Teacher Jiang taught us to respect the old and love the young. Little Jingkong felt that something was wrong that day. Today, when granduncle came to visit, he was even more certain of his conjecture. Bad brother-in-law was really up to something that day. Bad brother-in-law was an unfilial grandson. He could not do that in the future. After complaining, Little Jingkong deeply felt the heavy responsibility on his shoulders. He went to the study and picked up the foreign language book that he despised. Bad brother-in-law was unreliable and tiring. From today onwards, he had to work harder so that he could raise his family well in the future. In the kitchen, Gu Jiao recalled Little Jingkong's words. Met him. He even called him by his nickname. That meant that the person knew Xiao Lulang. Judging from Xiao Liulang's reaction, it was very likely that Xiao Lulang knew him too. According to Gu Jiao's observation of that person, he obviously knew old Madam as well. As for whether they were a real couple, it was hard to say. Old Madam's memory was messed up, so it was possible that she mistook him for someone else. That was not the main point. The main point was that the person knew Xiao Lulang and old Madam. Xiao Lulang also knew him. Then, did Xiao Lulang also know old Madam? When he saved old Madam and took her in without any complaints, it was not because of his sudden kindness. Was it because they were old acquaintances? Prince and also knew old Madam. Gu Jiao used the firewood to write a few names on the ashes. Old Madam, Princeton, Xiao Lulang, Marquis Schwamping's mansion, Ahang. After the old man returned to the carriage, he could not calm down for a long time. Empress Dowager Zhuang did not get along with Marquis Schwamping's mansion, and he did not get along with her. Xiao Lulang was both a member of Marquis Schwamping's mansion and his student. The old man did not feel at ease leaving Xiao Lulang by the side of the country-wrecking demon empress. No, I have to keep an eye on her. The old man returned to the capital this time because a close friend of many years was critically ill and did not have long to live. He came to see him one last time. When he saw him, he planned to continue living in seclusion. But now he changed his mind. He secretly used the connections that he had not used for many years and rented a small house in Jadewater Alley. Coincidentally, it was right next to Xiao Lulang and Gu Jiao. The old man quickly moved into the room. He did not have many servants, only Lu Quan and a temporarily hired coachman. The first day he moved in, he built a ladder and stood on the wall to secretly observe the actions of the country-wrecking demon empress. Old Madam had already discovered him. This annoying old man. He didn't want her when she was young, but now that he was old, he wanted her back? Dream on. Old Madam resisted the urge to hack him to death and returned to her room to sleep. But she lay on the bed and could not fall asleep. The more she thought about it, the more she could not swallow this anger. She went to the kitchen, took a kitchen knife, and angrily went next door. The old man stared for a while and felt sleepy, so he also returned to his room to sleep. The difference was that he fell asleep, but halfway through his sleep, he felt a chill on his neck and instantly woke up. When he opened his eyes, he saw old Madam pointing a kitchen knife at him. He was shocked. "What are you doing?" Old Madam put the kitchen knife on his neck and said in a mighty and domineering manner, "Hand over your secret stash." Old Chancellor, who was robbed for no reason. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more complete. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that cannot be found on the internet are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_896422826/114526095. HTML Genius remembered this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bqg mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 154. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated even faster. Millions of novels will be read for free. Novels that can't be found online can be found here. Early in the morning, Gu Jiao went to the clinic. There were a few patients in the morning, but there wasn't much business in the afternoon. Gu Jiao rested in her small courtyard. Separated from her by a wall was the small garden of the girls' school. There was a pavilion in the small garden. Usually no one would come here, but now there was a girl playing a song there. Her playing was somewhat unsatisfactory. Not only was it intermittent, but the notes were also wrong. Gu Jiao was lying on a rattan chair with her eyes closed. As a result, she was tortured by the girl's deadly music. She opened the door and walked out. Looking in the direction of the courtyard wall, she said, "Wrong." The girl clearly didn't expect that someone would hear her playing. She was so scared that she scratched her fingertips, making an ear-piercing sound. Gu Jiao felt her hair stand on end. "Who is it?" the girl asked. She looked around but didn't find anyone nearby. "Your music isn't accurate," Gu Jiao said. This time, the girl could tell that it was the person behind the courtyard wall who was speaking. She was stunned and asked, "Is it not accurate? I just bought a guqin." The quality of this guqin wasn't very good. Ordinary daughters of aristocratic families wouldn't buy this kind of inferior guqin. Gu Jiao guessed that the other person's status wasn't high. Otherwise, they wouldn't be secretly hiding in a corner to practice. "Bring it here," Gu Jiao said. How do I bring it?" the girl asked. Gu Jiao looked at the wall that was taller than a person. She dispelled the urge to jump over and scare the other person to death. She said indifferently, "Can you find the guqin?" After a while, the other person said, "Found it." Gu Jiao said, "I said you play it. Hook the 3 strings." The girl was obviously a novice. The earliest guqin only had 5 strings. Later, King Wen added 1 string, and King Wu added 1 string. Thus, it became 7 strings, and was also called a 7-string guqin. The 7 strings also had their own names: Gong, Shang, Jiao, Zheng, Yuan, and Wu. Gu Jiao said, "The 3rd string, the horn string." "Oh." The girl raised her finger and hooked it. Gu Jiao said, "It's too high. Loosen the zither." After the girl finished loosening the zither, she plucked the strings again. "How about this?" Gu Jiao said, "It's too loose. The pitch is too low. Tighten it up a little." "Oh." The girl carefully turned the zither. This time, it was finally accurate. After that, she adjusted the other 6 strings, one by one under Gu Jiao's guidance. She played the song she learned in class and exclaimed happily, "It's really much better." Gu Jiao's face darkened. You call this pleasant? Do you have some misunderstanding about what it means? Miss, thank you. I was originally discouraged and planned to give up after a bit of practice, but now I've changed my mind. I won't be going anywhere this afternoon. I'll just practice here. Gu Jiao. Is it too late for me to regret now? After being tortured by the deadly zither music next door for an entire afternoon, Gu Jiao's face was completely dark when she came out. In the brothel of the girls' school, Gu Jinyu had just finished practicing. As long as she practiced, there would be a large group of people coming to admire her. It would not be an exaggeration to say that her zither music would linger for 3 days. County Princess Hui, how can you play so well? The teacher only taught you this morning, but you can already master it in the afternoon. Did you put in a lot of effort to practice? Yes. County Princess Hui, please share your experience with us. The two daughters of the aristocratic families looked at Gu Jinyu enviously. Gu Jinyu hugged the lunar shadow Fushi zither in her hands and smiled slightly. No need to be so polite. Just call me by my name. Actually, I haven't practiced for a long time. It's nice that you don't mind. The daughter said, Heavens, you haven't practiced for a long time? If you practice for a while, how good would you be? The daughter said, Miss Gu, is the zither in your hands the lunar shadow Fushi zither? The top zither player in the state of Chen, lunar shadow, made it personally. It's the only one in the 6 nations. Everyone was so envious that they almost drooled. The daughter said, Miss Gu, can you lend it to us to admire? Of course. Gu Jinyu gave the zither in her hands to them. Everyone crowded around to admire the legendary lunar shadow Fushi zither. It was indeed the top zither in the 6 nations. The surface, strings, emblem, head, and tail were all close to perfection. Why was it close to perfection? Because only the real Fushi zither was perfect. But the Fushi zither was long gone, so lunar shadow naturally became the top zither in the 6 nations. In the girls' school, there were 2 people who were the most popular. One was the daughter of the Marquis, Gu Jinyu, and the other was the granddaughter of Grand Tutor Zhuang, Zhuang Yueshi. Zhuang Yueshi's poetry was more outstanding, while Gu Jinyu's zither skills were more outstanding. The 2 of them were on par. But in terms of popularity, Zhuang Yueshi, who was arrogant and disdained to make friends with others, could not be compared to the approachable Gu Jinyu. At this moment, Zhuang Yueshi came out from another zither room with a zither in her hands. Behind her was Zhuang Mengdai, who was also carrying a zither. Zhuang Mengdai was playing a zither to make up the numbers. She had been dozing off ever since she entered the zither room. She only woke up when it was over. The 2 of them passed by Gu Jinyu's zither room and saw her surrounded by a group of daughters asking for advice. Zhuang Mengdai rolled her eyes in disdain. Tisk, what's so great about her? She's just a wild girl from the countryside. She's puffing herself up at her own cost. She stole someone else's identity and is still so smug. She really thinks she's the real daughter. Zhuang Yueshi glanced at her idiotic sister. How much better can you be than her? Zhuang Mengdia's mouth twitched. How can you talk about your own sister like that? No matter how bad I am, I'm still father's biological daughter. I'm of noble birth. I'm the legitimate daughter of an aristocratic family. Zhuang Yueshi said coldly, the legitimate daughter of an aristocratic family can't even recite a few poems. Don't tell others that you're the daughter of the Zhuang family. The Zhuang family can't afford to lose face like this. You. Zhuang Mengdai was so angry that she gritted her teeth. Zhuang Yueshi didn't like Gu Jinyu, and she didn't like Zhuang Mengdai either. She always felt embarrassed to have such an idiotic sister. The 2 sisters went downstairs. Zhuang Mengdai was originally angered to death by her sister. However, when she saw Prince N's carriage by the street, all her worries disappeared. Big brother. She threw the guqin to the servant and ran towards Royal Prince and got down from the carriage. It snowed last night. The streets and eaves were all white. However, he stood in the middle of the snow. It was as if the snow couldn't take away his brilliance. Zhuang Yueshi's face was also filled with joy. Zhuang Mengdai held Prince An's arm. "Brother, why are you here?" Prince An said gently. "I was passing by, so I came to see you. Have you finished your lessons today?" "Yes." Zhuang Yueshi walked over and said. She didn't give the zither to the servant. Prince An saw that she was tired and reached out his hand. "Give it to me." Zhuang Yueshi smiled and gave the zither to her brother. Prince An pulled his arm out of Zhuang Mengdia's hand because he wanted to take the zither. Zhuang Yueshi was very satisfied with this. After Prince An took the zither, he didn't rush to bring his two sisters into the carriage. Instead, he looked around as if he was waiting for someone. Zhuang Yueshi asked, "Brother, who are you looking for?" Prince An said calmly, "I heard that Miss Gu also came to the girls' school." Zhuang Mengdai immediately pursed her lips. "You're talking about that Gu Jinyu? I hate her to death." "Brother, why do you care about her?" Zhuang Yueshi looked at Prince An suspiciously. Prince An looked at Zhuang Mengdai and smiled. "Isn't she your friend?" "I was just asking." Zhuang Mengdai sneered. "I don't have a friend like her. She's the only one from the Gu family." Prince An asked. Zhuang Mengdai snorted. "Who else? How could that girl who grew up in the countryside get the admission card?" Zhuang Yueshi asked. "How did you get it?" Zhuang Mengdai choked. Could this elder sister not always tear down her stage? Prince An was deep in thought. Could it be that she sold the admission card he gave her to Zhuang Mengdai? What Prince An didn't know was that his admission card was sold to Du Xiaoyun by Gu Jiao. Zhuang Mengdia's admission card was obtained by Marquis Gu from Consort Chu. On the second floor of the brothel, Gu Jinyu pushed open the door and saw Prince An, who came to pick up his two sisters from school. Gu Jinyu's heart was beating wildly. After not seeing him for a long time, Prince An seemed to be more handsome, and his aura was more powerful. Who was he looking left and right for? Herself? Gu Jinyu's heart beat faster. She vaguely heard Zhuang Mengdai say, "You mean that Gu Jinyu? I hate her so much. Why does brother care about her?" Gu Jinyu's breathing was messed up. Prince An was concerned about her. He didn't come to pick up his sisters. He specially came to see her. Gu Jinyu hurriedly put away the zither and went to the tea room to reapply some rouge. She also fixed the hairpin on her head before going downstairs to see Prince An unexpectedly. Prince An was already gone. It turned out that Zhuang Mengdai accidentally said, "That girl is working as a medicine boy at the clinic next door. I saw her that day." So Prince An went to the clinic, but Prince An didn't go there. Gu Jiao couldn't stand the zither music behind the courtyard wall and got off work early. At this time, the four men in the family hadn't finished school yet. Gu Jiao went to the kitchen to stew soup. Halfway through, Nanny Fong came. "Eldest miss, something strange is growing on Madam's body. Quickly go and take a look." Gu Jiao lowered the fire in the stove to let the soup in the pot stay warm. She sat in the carriage with Nanny Fong and went to the Marquis's estate. When Madame Yao saw Gu Jiao, she reprimanded Nanny Fong. "I said I'm fine. Don't look for Jiao Jiao for everything. It's always good to be careful." Gu Jiao walked forward and looked at Madame Yao. "It's eczema. It's fine. Just apply some medicine and it'll be fine." Madame Yao looked at Nanny Fong. "I said it's fine, right? Look at you making a fuss over nothing." Nanny Fong heaved a long sigh of relief. "Isn't it because once bitten, twice shy?" Ever since concubine Ling lost her power, she became restless. She frequently went to Gu Chengfeng and Gu Chengling's courtyard to make a good impression in front of the two brothers. Now, the two of them wanted to drive Madame Yao out of the estate. She didn't do it herself and wanted to use others to do it. Nanny Fong had been guarding against concubine Ling, but she was afraid that she couldn't guard against her. Gu Jiao took out a box of eczema ointment from the small medicine box and gave it to Madame Yao. "If there are any problems in the future, tell me immediately." It was better to be safe than sorry. She didn't care about making a few more trips. Nanny Fong sent Gu Jiao to the carriage. Gu Jiao returned to Chishui Alley. The old lady asked, "Is your mother okay?" Gu Jiao said, "She's fine." However, what even Gu Jiao didn't expect was that Madame Yao was fine, but her two younger brothers in the family had an accident. The first one to show symptoms was little Jing Kong. During dinner, little Jing Kong didn't have a good appetite. Gu Jiao touched him. He didn't have a fever, so he went to bed early. In the middle of the night, he suddenly shook Xiao Lulang awake. Xiao Lulang looked at him strangely. "What's wrong?" He sat on the bed and said with a serious face, "I'm so itchy." Xiao Lulang lit the oil lamp and lifted his clothes to take a look. He found that there were several transparent blisters on his arms and stomach. Xiao Lulang covered him with a quilt and called Gu Jiao over. After Gu Jiao saw it, she diagnosed it on the spot, chickenpox. Xiao Lulang frowned. "You mean chickenpox?" Gu Jiao nodded. "Well, you can say that." Little Jing Kong was in good health. He hadn't gotten sick since he left the mountain. Who would have thought that he would get chickenpox? Although chickenpox wasn't as terrible as smallpox, it wasn't that difficult to treat. Chickenpox is contagious. "Did you get chickenpox when you were a child?" Gu Jiao asked Xiao Lulang. "Yes," Xiao Lulang said. He also got chickenpox when he was about the same age as little Jing Kong. "What about you?" Xiao Lulang looked at Gu Jiao. "I think I got chickenpox before." Gu Jiao searched the original owner's memory in her mind. She got chickenpox before Gu Sanlang and his wife passed away. Because she was well taken care of, she finally recovered. "Xiaoshan didn't get chickenpox before," she said. "Chickenpox was contagious. It was better not to come into contact with little Jing Kong if she didn't get chickenpox before." "Did Grand Aunt get chickenpox before?" she asked Xiao Lulang. This question was a bit interesting. The old lady was just a leprosy patient who was casually rescued. She lost her memory and couldn't remember the past. How could Xiao Lulang know if she had chickenpox before? Unless she was already certain that Xiao Lulang had known her for a long time. Xiao Lulang didn't ask if she knew anything, nor did he deliberately change the topic. He just said calmly, "I don't know." He really didn't know. Gu Jiao thought about it. It was normal. For example, she didn't know what illness old Master Gu had in the past. She said, "Oh, then, to be on the safe side, it's better to ask Grand Aunt to be careful." The chickenpox this time came fiercely. The next morning, Gu Xiaoshan and Gu Yan also got chickenpox. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel is updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. There are all kinds of novels that can't be found on the internet here. https://www.zhpqg.com/8964-2_89642826/114498866. HTML Genius remembered the website address in 1 second. www.zhpqg.com Bikugo mobile reading website. zhpqg.com. Chapter 155. The latest chapter of this book isn't finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated more quickly. Millions of novels will be read for free. Novels with content that can't be found on the internet are all available here. Great, there were 6 people in the house, and 3 of them fell ill. Gu Jiao and Xiao Lulang didn't dare to let the old lady continue to stay at home. Little Jing Kong's acne was similar to a serious cold, but the old lady's acne could kill her. Let the old lady stay next door for a few days? Gu Jiao said to Xiao Lulang. Gu Jiao already knew that the old man next door was the old man she had treated on the mountain before, mainly because she recognized Lu Quan. Lu Quan had given her and Gu Xiaoshan a gift on the first day of a new year, a warm jade pendant. Gu Jinyu even mistook that jade pendant for her own, causing a big misunderstanding. No matter if he was the old lady's husband or not, he was someone worthy of trust. Xiao Lulang opened his mouth. Actually, they were old enemies, the kind that would fight to the death. Was it really okay to stay next door? Wouldn't they strangle each other to death if they couldn't control themselves? When the old lady heard that she was going to stay with her husband, she felt a little disgusted, but when she thought that the three little guys all had acne, she still chose the dog head to save her life. When the old lady appeared in front of him, the old chancellor was watering the flowers. He was so scared that he dropped the kettle. "I don't have any money left." The old lady stared at him with a death stare and silently took the luggage into the house. The old chancellor was stunned. This is my house." The old lady threw his things out and said expressionlessly, "From now on, it's not." The old chancellor gritted his teeth. He had to endure. Gu Xiaoshan and little Jing Kong didn't have any headache or fever for a year, but this time they had acne and their symptoms were even worse than Gu Yan's. Both of them had a high fever of 40 degrees, which didn't go down even after taking the antipyretic. Gu Jiao gave the two of them some fluids. Gu Yan sat opposite the two of them and watched with a smug expression as the two of them were injected with needles. One adult and one child sat on a chair and got in 4 drip. How much they wanted to beat up Gu Yan. When Xiao Lulang entered the room, he saw this scene. This strange treatment method was unique in the 6 nations and the universe. Now, the secrets between the two of them could no longer be hidden. His background and her medical skills were slowly coming to the surface. It was just that he didn't want to talk about his background, so he naturally didn't have the right to ask about her medical skills. Gu Jiao was the same. They were all smart people. "Is there anything I can help you with?" Xiao Lulang asked. Gu Jiao said, "There's no hot water. I'll go cook it." Xiao Lulang turned around and went to the kitchen. Gu Jiao stayed behind to observe the 3 of them. Little Jing Kong was the youngest, so he was the most receptive to new things. He quickly got used to the needles on the back of his hand. Gu Xiaoshan was so scared that his whole body trembled. "It's okay." Gu Jiao comforted him softly. After a while, little Jing Kong started to feel sleepy. Gu Jiao carried him over and placed him on her lap. She sat beside Gu Xiaoshan and quietly accompanied them. Gu Jiao thought that little Jing Kong's symptoms would be the least severe since he was the youngest. However, at night, little Jing Kong's hands and feet started to feel cold. Gu Jiao fetched him some hot water to soak his feet. The little guy couldn't even sit still. "Hold him," Xiao Lulang said. Gu Jiao sat on the chair and held little Jing Kong. Xiao Lulang squatted on the floor and held a wooden basin for him to soak his feet. This action was tiring for a normal person, let alone him. Gu Jiao said, "Let me do it." "No need." Xiao Liulang's forehead was sweating. He said calmly, "He doesn't want me to hold him." Little Jing Kong was sleepy. How could he know who was holding him? Gu Jiao glanced at him. She raised her hand and wiped the sweat on his forehead with her sleeve. After soaking his feet, little Jing Kong was sweating all over. His fever subsided a little, and his hands and feet were not so cold anymore. To be honest, Gu Jiao didn't have much contact with little patients in her previous life. She didn't dare to let her guard down for a while. "I'll go check on Xiaoshan and Gu Yan," Xiao Lulang said and took the used hot water out. Gu Yan and Gu Xiaoshan also had a high fever, but it was not as serious as little Jing Kong's. In the middle of the night, little Jing Kong suddenly sat up. He opened his dark eyes and blinked. No one knew what he was looking at. Gu Jiao asked, "What's the matter?" "Jiao Jiao," he said. "I'm here." Gu Jiao held him in her arms and lay down. Little Jing Kong closed his eyes. After a while, he sat up again. His eyes were wide open. "Bad brother-in-law," he said. "He's here too." Gu Jiao called Xiao Lulang in. "Go to sleep. Brother-in-law is here too." Little Jing Kong looked at Gu Jiao and Xiao Lulang. He fell asleep peacefully. However, he got up again after a while. He was muddle-headed from the fever. Although his eyes were wide open and bright, he looked like he was drunk. He started to recite the poems of the Tang dynasty, one after another. Then, he started to speak the language of the Chun nation. He talked a lot and looked very serious. After he finished speaking the language of the Chun nation, he started to speak the language of the Liang nation. Xiao Lulang just mentioned some sentences casually and did not pay attention to the key points. He thought that little Jing Kong had not learned them. Then, he said a few sentences in the language of the Jin nation. Xiao Lulang had not taught him the language of the Yan nation and the Turkic nation, so little Jing Kong did not speak them. Xiao Lulang had a few words with him out of curiosity. Usually, Xiao Lulang would test him like this. He had not learned for a long time, so he always had to think before he could answer. Sometimes, he would even answer vaguely. After all, he had learned a lot of languages. But tonight, Xiao Lulang seamlessly changed the language of the 4 countries. He did not get a single sentence wrong. It was quite confusing. In the end, he even recited the Buddhist scriptures in Sanskrit. Not only that, he also wanted to wear his little monk robe and knock on his small wooden fish. Gu Jiao went to find his things. 15 minutes later, the two of them looked at little Jing Kong, who was sitting on the bed and seriously knocking on the small wooden fish, twirling the small Buddhist prayer beads, and reciting the Buddhist scriptures. For a moment, they were speechless. This was not the scariest thing. Little Jing Kong knocked on the wooden fish. As he knocked on the wooden fish, his head started to itch. He raised his hand and grabbed a handful of hair. He was instantly stunned. "Master, why is my hair growing? I can't be a monk anymore. Shave my hair. I want to shave it." He cried very fiercely. It was hard to coax him. Therefore, Gu Jiao had to ask his temporary master, Xiao Lulang, to bring a razor over and shave his hair that had been growing for more than half a year. The next day, little Jing Kong woke up and did not remember what he had done at night. He did not realize that his hair was gone. Gu Yan was quite smug yesterday because he did not need an injection. But today he could not be smug. He was even more listless than little Jing Kong. He also coughed uncontrollably and vomited all the medicine that was given to him. The 3 children all fell ill. Gu Jiao finally understood what it meant to be in a terrible fix. "It's so itchy." Little Jing Kong cried again. Gu Jiao walked into the room. "Don't scratch. It will leave a scar." Little Jing Kong was mad. "But I can't stand it." Gu Jiao had to apply some cooling ointment to stop the itch. Gu Chongqing had not passed by the Imperial College for a long time. Since he knew the identities of Gu Jiao and Gu Yan, he deliberately avoided this place and would rather take a long detour. But today, for some reason, he had come here at the behest of gods and devils. The sound of the horse's hooves was very soft and did not alarm anyone. He told himself that he was just passing by, just like any other time. He pulled the reins tightly and walked to the door expressionlessly. Suddenly, he heard a low cough. His expression changed slightly, and he subconsciously pulled the reins tighter. The horse did not go fast. He pulled the reins gently and stopped. The cough was hurried and painful. He frowned. He hesitated for a moment and finally got off the horse. He came to the door and was about to knock, but he felt that it was not appropriate. How could a grudge of more than 10 years be written off after 1 or 2 encounters? They were supposed to be strangers who were most familiar with each other. He turned to leave, but the door creaked open. Little Jing Kong opened the door. Little Jing Kong was much better today. It was just that his body was very itchy. Jiao Jiao did not allow him to scratch, so he planned to escape and scratch. In the end, he was caught by his big brother. Little Jing Kong guiltily put his hands behind his back. He was wearing a tiger head hat. Gu Chongqing did not notice his little bald head for the time being. Gu Chongqing looked at him suspiciously. "Where are you going?" Little Jing Kong rolled his eyes. "Come out for some fresh air?" Gu Chongqing's gaze fell on the acne on his face. "You have acne, but you can still come out for some fresh air? Does your sister know?" Little Jing Kong pointed at his fingers. Gu Chongqing had no doubt that if he left, the little guy would immediately run out. "Forget it. I have to hand you over to her. Not because she is my sister, but because I have to do my duty." Gu Chongqing held little Jing Kong's hand and led him into the courtyard. Gu Jiao was cooking in the kitchen. He wants to run out. Gu Chongqing carried little Jing Kong into the kitchen. Little Jing Kong, who had been complaining about others all year round, was finally being reported by someone. Indeed, he had to pay for what he did. Little Jing Kong lowered his little head guiltily. Gu Jiaojiao glanced at little Jing Kong, then looked at Gu Changqing. She looked very calm. Thank you. She did not say anything else. None of the three people in the house spoke. Little Jing Kong felt guilty, but he did not know why the two adults were acting like this. Who's coughing? Gu Changqing heard the sound of coughing again. It's Gu Yan. Gu Jiaojiao said he also has acne. Acne was not a minor illness, not to mention that Gu Yan also had a heart condition. Gu Changqing frowned and opened his mouth. He wanted to say something, but he felt that he was in no position to do so. Have you had acne before? Gu Jiaojiao asked. Yes, Gu Changqing said. Gu Jiaojiao looked at little Jing Kong. Jing Kong, take your big brother to see Brother Yan. That's great, I don't have to face the wind anymore. Little Jing Kong grabbed Gu Changqing's hand and took him to Gu Yan's house. Gu Yan did not drink his medicine properly. He spat it out after taking a sip, and it spilled all over his body. Xiao Lulang had never taken care of such a big brother before. To be honest, he was a little inexperienced. Moreover, Gu Yan was not as sturdy as little Jing Kong. He could do whatever he wanted, but Xiao Lulang was worried that he would make Gu Yan disappear if he was not careful. Give him to me. Gu Changqing, who was at the door, suddenly said. Xiao Lulang turned around and looked at Gu Changqing vigilantly. When he saw little Jing Kong holding his hand, the vigilance in his eyes disappeared. Little Jing Kong said, Jiao Jiao asked me to bring Big Brother here. After hearing little Jing Kong's words, Xiao Lulang did not hesitate anymore. He stood up and walked out of the house with little Jing Kong. Gu Changqing turned around and looked at Xiao Lulang. He had never seen Xiao Lulang before, but he felt that he looked familiar. In addition, the vigilance he showed just now was not something a simple scholar would have. This sister. What kind of man did she marry? No, she was not his sister. Digression. Is today's Big Brother worth a monthly ticket? The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that cannot be found on the internet are available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642826/114495097. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Go mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 156. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. Gu Changqing's face turned cold. He picked up the bowl of medicine and gently fed Gu Yan the medicine. Gu Changqing was the eldest brother. He had 2 younger brothers. Although he wasn't much older than them, his mother had passed away early and his stepmother had married him. His father only had eyes for his stepmother and her children. Some things couldn't be given by a servant, so he was experienced in taking care of his 2 younger brothers. Of course, Gu Yan was different from Gu Qingfeng and Gu Qinglin. He was too weak and had to be treated carefully, like a newborn kitten. In a daze, Gu Yan tasted something bitter. He pushed the spoon out with his tongue in disgust. He sprinkled a few drops of medicine on the back of Gu Changqing's hand. Gu Changqing wasn't angry. He sat down by the bed and helped Gu Yan up. He took a pillow and placed it behind his back. He scooped another spoonful of medicine and fed it to Gu Yan. Gu Yan turned his face away and tilted his head on the pillow. He didn't drink it. Gu Changqing was very experienced in dealing with this kind of little thing. There were candied fruits on the table. He took one and fed it to Gu Yan's mouth. Gu Yan licked it. It was sweet. He opened his mouth to eat it, but Gu Changqing reached out with a spoon and fed him the medicine. Gu Yan, who was caught off guard and fed a mouthful of medicine, widened his eyes. He was confused. When Gu Chenglin was young, Gu Chongqing also fed him medicine like this. He also had the same expression. However, to be honest, Gu Chenglin wasn't as cute as Gu Yan. Gu Yan had a high fever. His cheeks were red, and there was a tuft of hair on the top of his head. Gu Chongqing couldn't help but think of the silly roe deer he saw when he went hunting. In the future, he probably wouldn't be able to face a prey like the silly roe deer. Gu Yan was a little dazed from the fever. When he saw Gu Chongqing, he didn't react for a while and thought that he was dreaming. Then, in a daze, he was fed the medicine by Gu Chongqing. Gu Chongqing rewarded him with a candied fruit. He didn't eat it, but held it in his hand. Gu Chongqing was puzzled. "Why aren't you eating?" Gu Yan felt wronged and said, "If I wake up and the candied plums are still there, I'll know it's not a dream." He coughed so hard that his throat was hoarse. When he said those words, it was obvious that he had been wronged even without looking at his eyes. Was it because she hadn't come to see him recently? Gu Chongqing was speechless for a long time. "You don't know anything yet." "As long as you are willing to learn, I will definitely teach you well." Gu Jiao had no intention of eavesdropping on their conversation. It was too quiet here, and they didn't lower their voices at all. Gu Jiao recognized the young girl. She was called Ling Shuixian, old Madame Ling's grandniece. She was younger than her and Gu Yan by a month. She had come back to the Fu to stay for a long time. First, she wanted to be filial to old Madame Gu. Second, she wanted to ask Gu Jinyu for advice, hoping that she could help her pass the girls' school entrance exam after the new year. Old Madame Gu doted on this grandniece very much and had the idea of matchmaking her with Gu Chongqing, so she agreed to let her stay in the Fu. As for whether she could enter a girls' school, it was not within old Madame Gu's range of worries. But Gu Jinyu tutored her seriously, which was giving old Madame Gu face. Old Madame Gu was very pleased and liked Gu Jinyu even more. Who is that? Gu Jiao had no intention of befriending Ling Shuixian, but she could not stop Ling Shuixian from noticing Gu Jiao at a glance. There was no other way. Even if Gu Jiao did not rely on her face, her clear aura was too eye-catching. Gu Jinyu had someone raise the curtain and looked at Gu Jiao, saying, "That is my older sister." "Your older sister?" Ling Shuixian frowned. "Which older sister? How come I don't recognize her?" Gu Jinyu smiled bitterly. "Yan Er's twin sister." "Oh, her." Ling Shuixian suddenly realized. As the young miss of Marquis Ding and Fu, she had naturally heard of such important gossip. She had long been curious about what that older cousin who grew up in the countryside was like. Seeing her today, she was not disappointed. 2. Unruly. She doesn't even wear a veil when going out. She doesn't mind embarrassing the Marquis Fu by showing her face in public. Daughters of aristocratic families, like them, were very particular. For example, if she came to her uncle's manor and sat in the pavilion, she would have someone lower the curtain. This was the only way to not damage the girl's reputation. Gu Jinyu smiled. "Younger cousin, don't say it like that. Older sister suffered a lot in the countryside. Showing her face in public is also forced by life." Ling Shuixian suddenly asked, "Did she really feed pigs?" "Ah." Gu Jinyu was stunned. Ling Shuixian said in disdain, "How dirty." Ling Shuixian did not dislike Gu Jiao. She just looked down on Gu Jiao. She had always looked down on Yao Shi. Yao Shi's child had been raised in the countryside for over 10 years. Who knew what kind of idiot had been raised? And that face, heavens, what a large birthmark. So ugly. Ling Shuixian mocked. "I heard that she used to be an idiot. Is she still an idiot now?" Gu Jinyu smiled. "Older sister's idiocy has already been cured. Younger cousin, don't say such things in the future. Let's go greet older sister." Ling Shuixian said in disdain, "I'm not going." "If you want to go, you go." Gu Jinyu definitely had to go. With so many servants watching, she could not be rude to her older sister. She walked out of the pavilion and came in front of Gu Jiao. She affectionately called her older sister, then introduced. "That's younger cousin, Shuixian." "Older sister, Do you want to come over and sit with us? No need. Gu Jiao refused. Gu Jinyu was not surprised at all, but still smiled and urged her to stay. Sitting for a while is fine. I'm not going. Gu Jiao still refused. Gu Jinyu lowered her eyes and lowered her voice. Then, older sister, go ahead. Jinyu won't disturb older sister. Gu Jiao walked away. After taking a few steps, she seemed to have thought of something and turned back to look at Gu Jinyu. I'm going to see madam. Do you want to come with me? This was the first time Gu Jiao had taken the initiative to invite Gu Jinyu. Gu Jinyu was stunned. The madam she was talking about must be her mother. Was that how she addressed her mother? Also, why did she suddenly invite her to come along? It was rare for her to take the initiative. Logic told Gu Jinyu that this was a great opportunity to repair their relationship. If her mother saw her together with her older sister, she would definitely be very happy. But this meant that she would have to abandon Ling Shuixian. Ling Shuixian was old Madame Gu's favorite. The three older brothers in the manor all doted on her. If she was on good terms with her, then old Madame Gu and her brothers would also see her in a different light. In the end, Gu Jinyu chose between Yao Shi and Ling Shuixian. Whether or not her mother coaxed her, she would still dote on her. Her brothers, on the other hand, needed her to constantly work hard. I'm sorry, older sister. I just promised younger cousin, Shuixian, that I would tutor her. When I'm done, I'll go find you and mother, she said with a sincere expression. Gu Jiao did not say anything and turned to leave. Gu Jinyu returned to the pavilion. Ling Shuixian asked, what did you talk about with her for so long? Gu Jinyu gently said, she told me to go to mother's place. I was thinking that I would go after I tutor you. Ling Shuixian was very satisfied that Gu Jinyu had chosen her. Coincidentally, at this moment, old Madame Gu's trusted nanny came over with a food box. She bowed to the two of them. Miss Gu, this is the medicine that you instructed the servants to brew for the heir. Do you think should I deliver it for you, or do you want to deliver it personally? Gu Changqing was sick. He had always been in good health. However, for some reason, he fell sick 3 days ago. Old Madame Gu immediately informed her maternal family to let Ling Shuixian stay in the manor. She said that it was to fulfill her filial piety, but in reality, she was looking for an opportunity to curry favor with Gu Changqing. This medicine was not brewed under Miss Ling's instructions. It was prepared by old Madame Gu. The nanny's words were meant to remind Ling Shuixian to quickly take the medicine and take care of the heir. Ling Shuixian liked eldest cousin very much. How could she not understand old Madame Gu's arrangements? Give it to me. I'll deliver it myself. She took the food box. After some thought, she said to Gu Jinyu, do you want to come with me to visit eldest brother? Gu Jinyu's eyes lit up. Eldest brother had been sick for a few days. She had wanted to visit him for a long time, but she could not enter eldest brother's courtyard. Indeed, she had been right to reject Gu Jiao. The opportunity to please eldest brother had come so quickly. The two of them went to Gu Changqing's courtyard. Unfortunately, Gu Changqing had gone to the back of the mountain to practice his swordplay. When the old duke was still in the manor, he had never allowed him to slack off just because he was sick. He was an unlucky child who had to practice the horse stance and practice his swordplay even when he had a high fever. Ling Shuixian decided to wait for him in the courtyard. After waiting for a long time and not seeing Gu Changqing return, Ling Shuixian gradually could not sit still. She began to wander around the courtyard. She was the cousin of the manor. Old Madame and the three young masters doted on her. The servants did not dare to say anything to her. They only reminded her not to go to the heir's study. But he might as well not have reminded her. Ling Shuixian just had to go. She had just entered when a loud bang came from the study. Gu Jinyu's expression changed. She quickly went to the study. Cousin, are you okay? In the courtyard, Yao Shi saw her daughter. She pulled her daughter's hand and sat down on the Kong bed in the warm room. You've gotten thinner, she said with heartache. Taking care of 3 sick people, she did not eat or sleep well. Gu Jiao had indeed gotten thinner. "Are they okay?" Yao Shi asked. "They're fine," Gu Jiao replied. The three sick people were all alive and kicking, but they were still contagious. So Gu Jiao still had them stay at home. Yao Shi relaxed. "It's all thanks to you. Otherwise, with Yan Er's body, he would not have been able to survive this illness." Gu Yan's body was so weak that even a small cold could kill him, not to mention a pimple. Yao Shi understood that in a place that she could not see, her daughter had put in countless efforts to allow her son to have a body that was 10 times healthier than before. This time, her daughter must have put in a lot of effort to make her son recover so quickly. Gu Jiao wanted to say something but stopped. As the mother and daughter were talking, a young servant girl suddenly rushed in. "Madam, eldest young miss, it's not good. Something happened to second young miss." Digression: readers who did not win the prize could go to Sina Weibo, Xiaoxiang Bookstore official Weibo, Fangfang, and repost the Weibo of the lucky draw to win Dior lipstick, antique jewelry, and little clear sky accessories. Good luck to everyone. **** book title: Marrying the Unparalleled Wastrel Prince. Divine Doctor Consort as the Trash Prince of Nanzhao. Su Mo was sent to East Ming as a hostage for many years. The Emperor of East Ming was very kind. Not only did he give Su Mo the title of prince, but he also arranged a marriage for him. After picking and choosing, it was decided that Guo Gongfu's legitimate daughter would be of noble birth. However, it was not the Mu family's eldest young miss who grew up in the capital. Instead, it was the Mu family's second young miss who had just been found in the countryside. Everyone said, "The village girl and the trash, a match made in heaven." Su Mo remembered that there was some history. The first time they met, the village girl fell from the sky and fell on him. On the night of the wedding, they negotiated amicably and happily became salted fish together. But gradually, things started to go awry. "Su Mo, we agreed to be salted fish together, but you carried me to become a godly doctor." Mu Yuanqiu. "Humph, how many aliases do you have? Show them all." Female lead true godly doctor versus male lead fake trash. Love before marriage. Clean body and mind. No misunderstanding. Causing trouble is serious. Being funny is also serious. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more complete. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/8964289642_8964286/114464023. HTML Genius memorized this site's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Go mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. In fact, this matter had already appeared in the miserable dream when he returned to his residence. The difference was that the victim was not Gu Jinyu, but herself in her dream. After she returned to the Marquis Fu, without the protection of her mother and younger brother, in order to better integrate into the Marquis Fu, she did not hesitate to spend a large sum of money to curry favor with her cousin Ling Shuixian. Ling Shuixian saw that she was so generous and could not bear to ignore her. In a moment of happiness, she brought her to Gu Changqing's courtyard. She originally thought that she could make friends with eldest brother, but who knew that before eldest brother, Ling Shuixian would first frame her. Ling Shuixian did not want to frame her from the start. She had accidentally broken something in the study and was afraid that Gu Changqing would hate her. So she lied and said that she was the one who broke it. Her situation then was the same as Gu Jinyu's situation now. No one believed her. However, in her dream, what Ling Shuixian had knocked over was not an ordinary relic, but the late madam's ashes. One could imagine the anger of Gu Changqing and the entire Marquis Fu. Even Marquis Gu, who was not in love with the late madam, felt that she was too much, and his heart turned cold. Today, when she entered the Fu and saw Ling Shuixian, she thought of that dream. She had given Gu Jinyu a chance. It was Gu Jinyu who did not want it. Then, who could she blame? Gu Jinyu regretted it. She really regretted it. If she had known earlier, she would have agreed to Gu Jiao's request to visit mother. This was great. Not only did she not curry favor with eldest brother, she also offended eldest brother, second brother, and third brother. This cousin looked like a dog, but who knew that she would be so shameless? She was now a county princess, personally conferred by His Majesty. Even if Gu Chengfeng and Gu Chenglin were angry, they would not dare to use the family law to serve her. But if this matter was spread, her reputation would not be good. She could not be the scapegoat. Yao Shi shielded Gu Jinyu behind her and looked calmly at Gu Chengfeng and Gu Chenglin, saying, "Who broke it? When the Marquis returns, I will have him carefully investigate." Jinyu is not only the daughter of Marquis Ding and Fu, she is also a county princess personally conferred by His Majesty. You cannot casually punish her. Gu Chenglin became unreasonable. He did not care if she was a county princess or not. He stood up from his wheelchair and rushed at Yao Shi with gritted teeth. Yao Shi protected Gu Jinyu in her arms. Gu Jiao calmly walked out and stood in front of Yao Shi. Gu Chenglin saw this familiar face, and the fear of being controlled by the little black room surged to his head. His entire body froze. Gu Chengfeng calmly glanced at his younger brother, and then looked at Gu Jiao. His gaze was deep. Gu Jiao calmly said, "Let's go." Gu Jinyu left with Yao Shi accompanying her. The Marquis Fu is not fun at all. Cousin even slandered me. I will never come again. Ling Shuixian felt extremely guilty. She was afraid that she would be exposed by Gu Chongqing's interrogation, so she quickly found an excuse to leave. Gu Chongqing returned to his courtyard an hour later. He was sick and covered in sweat. His face was still pale, but his bearing had not decreased, and his aura was as sharp as ever. What happened? He looked at his two younger brothers, who were silent. Gu Chenglin exaggerated the story of how Gu Jinyu had broken the vase and framed Ling Shuixian. He was truly heartbroken. That was his mother's favorite vase when she was alive. He heard that he had even peed in it when he was young. His mother could not stop laughing at him. She hugged him and kissed him. Actually, he did not remember any of this. But every time he heard someone mention it, he would desperately imagine the scene in his mind. He felt that his mother was very gentle and doted on him. She was the best mother in the world. Gu Chenglin wiped his tears. He had not cried this much even when he had been beaten half to death by Gu Jiao. That was not mother's relic, Gu Chongqing said. "HM?" Gu Chenglin was startled. Gu Chengfeng also looked strangely at his eldest brother. Gu Chongqing sighed. The vase you peed in was already buried with mother's cenotaph. How would I know that you would cry the next day looking for this vase? I had someone make a replica. Gu Chenglin, damn it. He had cried for so long for nothing? But Gu Chongqing frowned. It was very strange. This vase was at the top of the cabinet. How did Ling Shuixian or Gu Jinyu find it? He entered the study. He sensed that something was wrong at a glance. On the table, the urn next to his mother's memorial tablet was missing. His heart trembled. He turned his head to look. Where the vase should have been was his mother's urn. Someone had come. His mother's urn had been swapped with the vase. If not, what had been knocked over in the afternoon would not have been a replica vase, but his mother's urn. Who came into my study? He called the servant. The servant said, "Only the two young masters and the two young ladies." It was not them. They did not even notice that the urn had been moved. Did someone know that the urn would be broken, so they moved it ahead of time? Gu Jiao and the other two returned to Yao Shi's courtyard. Gu Jinyu recalled the grievances she had suffered in eldest brother's courtyard. Her eyes reddened. "Mother, you must believe me. I really did not touch eldest brother's things. I know that eldest brother's study cannot be casually entered. I only went in to take a look because I heard a strange sound. I was worried that something had happened to cousin. I did not expect that cousin would break the vase herself and then frame me." Yao Shi's expression was not good. What does it matter if you broke it or not? How many times have I told you not to go near your 3 brothers? Otherwise, you will have endless trouble. Has it come true now? Gu Jiao looked at the weeping Gu Jinyu with an indifferent expression. Yao Shi continued, if your older sister had not stopped him today, Gu Chunlin would have already attacked you. Why did you still foolishly go near them? Gu Jinyu felt wronged. They are my brothers, Yao Shi said seriously. You do not have an older brother. You only have a younger brother and an older sister. Although it was cruel to say this, how could those 3 not think the same? Yao Shi continued, in the future, do not interact with the Ling family anymore. The Ling family was the previous madam's maternal family. They were also very prejudiced and dissatisfied with their branch. Gu Jinyu said with tears in her eyes, it was grandmother who told me to teach cousin today. She glanced at Gu Jiao. If only elder sister had been with us just now, cousin would not have had a chance to slander me. Yao Shi said, how could your elder sister have been with you? She just entered the manor and does not know the Ling family's young miss. Gu Jinyu sobbed as she said, cousin wanted me to invite elder sister to sit in the pavilion. I went to call elder sister, but elder sister did not agree. Gu Jiao was speechless. Did she blame the earth for not being able to poop? When she called her to pay respects to Yao Shi, why did she not come with her? Also, why would Miss Ling be so kind as to call her? Gu Jiao could not be bothered to argue with her. She did not care what other people thought of her. She picked up her small basket and said, I'm leaving first. There were still 3 sick people at home. Yao Shi could not keep her. After she left, Yao Shi turned to look at Gu Jinyu. Her expression was very serious. How can you blame your elder sister for what happened today? What did your elder sister do wrong? Gu Jinyu was stunned. I did not, Yao Shi said sternly. Your elder sister has not used a single copper coin from the Marquis' estate. She has not eaten a single mouthful of rice from the Marquis' estate. It is not worthwhile for her to acknowledge any of the relatives in the Marquis' estate. Miss Ling called her. Of course she could refuse. Mother, Yao Shi had never used such a stern tone to speak to Gu Jinyu. In Gu Jinyu's eyes, Yao Shi was gentle and understanding. She was even a little weak. But now, Yao Shi was slowly becoming more unyielding. Yao Shi said, in the future, don't let me hear these words again. I won't allow you to slander your elder sister. Gu Jinyu did not feel as aggrieved as being slandered by others. Besides her younger brother, Mother doted on her the most, right? But the person Mother doted on the most now was her elder sister. Tell me, did she really do it? Yao Shi asked Nanny Fang after Gu Jinyu left. Nanny Fang had already found out that Miss Ling had fled in panic. It was obvious that she was guilty, but Nanny Fang did not say anything. She only sighed and said, Sigh, how would I dare to make wild guesses? Even if it was second miss, it should be unintentional. She did it to curry favor with the heir. Yao Shi suddenly felt a little disappointed in this daughter of hers. Little Jing Kong finally realized that his hair had been shaved off. He burst into tears. He had kept his hair for more than half a year, and it was just about to be tied into a ponytail, but it was gone just like that. He had turned back into little bald head. He hugged his little bald head and sat on the threshold, crying his heart out. My hair is gone. Bad brother-in-law, compensate my hair. Bad brother-in-law. Bad brother-in-law. Bad brother-in-law. Compensate my hair, Xiao Lulang said sternly. You were the one who wanted me to shave it. Little Jing Kong cried and kicked his legs. I didn't. You're talking nonsense. Little Jing Kong was confused by the fever that night and did not have any memory of it. Therefore, he firmly believed that he would never give up his beloved little hair. Bad brother-in-law must have been jealous of him and shaved his hair while he had a fever. Xiao Lulang spread his hands. If you don't believe me, you can ask Jiao Jiao later. Gu Jiao came back. An adult and a child were looking at her at the door. Xiao Lulang leaned against the door frame helplessly, while little Jing Kong sat on the threshold, looking aggrieved. Gu Jiao could faintly feel the aura of a black cloud above her head. What happened? She asked. Jiao Jiao, Little Jing Kong looked at her sadly. Bad brother-in-law said that I was confused by the fever that night and asked him to shave my hair. He also said that you were there, and you agreed and you passed the razor to him. He was very sad, and his face was written all over. Jiao Jiao, how could you watch someone destroy my beloved little hair and even pass me a razor? Are you still my beloved Jiao Jiao? Gu Jiao took a deep breath and touched his poor little bald head. She turned to Xiao Lulang and said, "This is your fault. It's fine to shave it, but why did you put the blame on the child?" Xiao Lulang was speechless. Digression. The previous chapter was written in the middle of the night. There were too many bugs, and it was not a good experience for everyone. I apologize here. I will pay more attention to the following chapters. Thank you for your tolerance and catching bugs. Bow. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels will be read for free. There are all kinds of novels that can't be found on the internet here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964286/114460096. HTML Genius remembered the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Go mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 158. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated faster. Millions of novels will be read for free. All the novels that can't be found on the internet will be available here. Xiao Lulang. I've learned bad things from my great aunt. Identification complete. This incident ended with Gu Jiao planting 3 kisses on Little Jing Kong's head. Little Jing Kong didn't have time to be angry with his bad brother-in-law. He covered the kisses on his head with his little hands and ran back to his room. He found a scarf and wrapped it around his head, waiting for the seeds to germinate. After the 3 of them completely recovered, they returned to Qinghe Academy and the Directorate of Education. Xiao Lulang and Gu Jiao had been on leave until now to take care of the 3 of them. Now, they could finally return to normal. The old lady also moved back. The old chancellor was so moved that he cried. They finally moved away. He wouldn't be chased by people with knives and robbed of his private stash anymore. The old chancellor was an honest official. He had been an official for decades, but he didn't save much money. He almost lost it all because of the evil empress. How could he reason with her? Xiao Lulang had been on leave for many days, so he missed a lot of homework. He didn't worry about his homework, but he still had to make up for it. Besides, he was going to take the imperial examination in spring next year, so he was more nervous about his studies. Feng Lin and Lin Qingye were also going to take the imperial examination in spring next year, so they weren't confident. In order to let Xiao Lulang spend more time on his studies, Gu Jiao said that from today onwards, she would take care of Little Jing Kong. Several children in Little Jing Kong's class were infected with the pox. After asking around, they found out that the first one who showed symptoms was the transfer student, Qin Chiu. Little Jing Kong must have been infected by him, and then passed it to his 2 older brothers. However, Qin Chiu didn't recover as quickly as Little Jing Kong. He was still on leave. Many children in class asked for leave, so they were released from school early. Little Jing Kong used to do his homework in the classroom after school, but now he went to the clinic to do his homework. When the Qinghe Academy was almost over, Gu Jiao would take him home. One day, Little Jing Kong was doing his homework in the medical center. The second boss got a box of mutton milk cake from somewhere. After eating it, Little Jing Kong exclaimed that it was delicious. Gu Jiao knew that it was fine for him to eat dairy products. Gu Jiao asked her second boss to buy fresh goat's milk for Little Jing Kong. There was once when she bought too much. After cooking it for Little Jing Kong, there was still half a pot left. Gu Yan and Gu Shaoshun were not used to drinking it. It was a pity to throw it away. Gu Jiao thought for a moment. then added some tea leaves and sugar into the pot. After boiling it, a special fragrance of milk and tea was produced. When the daughters of the girls' school passed by the clinic, they were attracted by this special fragrance and went in to ask what it was. Gu Jiao thought for a while and said, "Milk tea." Gu Jiao poured a few cups for them to try. Other than the bitter tea that was originally brewed, the daughters of the capital had only drunk buttered tea. The salty kind was quite tasty, but compared to this sweet milk tea, it was not worth mentioning at all. God, what kind of magical taste was this? It was so delicious. "Is there any more? Is there any more?" a daughter asked. Gu Jiao shook her head. "There's no more milk tea for today. If you want to drink it, come over tomorrow. I'll make more." The next day, the clinic was full of people. The second boss, who came down from the wing room, was a little confused. Were there so many patients today? They were all daughters of the girls' school. What happened at the girls' school? They were not here to see a doctor. They were here to line up for milk tea. Gu Jiao sold the milk tea at a high price, but it was still in short supply. The popularity of the milk tea made the second boss dumbfounded. He had been running the clinic for so many years, but he never thought that he would suddenly rely on his side business to make money. However, the cooking method of milk tea was not complicated. After drinking it a few times, one would know how to make it. Soon, the shops nearby began to compete with each other. Some of the chefs in the daughters' residences also knew how to make milk tea. The business of the clinic soon became quiet. One day, little Jing Kong came to the clinic to do his homework again. He saw the second boss sighing at the side. He put down his pen and asked him, "Why are you sighing? Business is not good." The second boss had just tasted the sweetness of selling milk tea. The cost was low and the profit was high. At most, he could prepare a warm room for the daughters and burn a few more pots of charcoal. But after a few days, half of his business was taken away. The main reason was that the other party sold the milk tea at a low price. Their cost could not be reduced because Gu Jiao insisted on using good tea leaves. The second boss wrung his hands. "I'm so worried." Little Jing Kong decided to go on a field trip. "Jiao Jiao, I want to try it too." Children could not drink tea. Gu Jiao really only let him have a small taste. It tasted very good. Little Jing Kong's Jiao Jiao recipe was completely fine. Little Jing Kong put on a serious face and went to the warm room with his hands behind his back. He wanted to ask why the other girls did not come. Just as he was about to speak, he saw a girl from the girls' school lying on the table and crying. "What's wrong? Does your stomach hurt?" Little Jing Kong asked her. She felt wronged and said, "It's not my stomach. It's a headache." The homework given by the teacher was too difficult. She did not know how to do it. Little Jing Kong climbed onto the stool and looked at the girl's questions. It seemed that his parents had given him these questions before. Jiao Jiao knew how to do it. Little Jing Kong took the questions to Gu Jiao. Gu Jiao was brewing pills. Little Jing Kong raised the paper in his hand. "Jiao Jiao, I don't know how to do the questions on this paper. Help me do it. I'll look at it myself after I'm done." "Okay." Gu Jiao took Little Jing Kong's questions. They were all arithmetic questions. There were also a lot of arithmetic questions in the gifted class. The difficulty was not low. Gu Jiao did not suspect anything. She took a new piece of paper and wrote the answers for Little Jing Kong with a charcoal pencil. Little Jing Kong never copied the answers. He would write the answers after he understood them. If he did not know how to do it, he would do it a few more times. He had a good reputation, so Gu Jiao did not keep an eye on him. Little Jing Kong took the paper and answer sheet back to the room. "Here are the answers." The girl did not believe that a child could get the answers. He must have drawn it himself. He could draw it even if he drew it himself. He did not even know where to fill in the blanks. The girl pursed her lips and copied the answers in resignation. The next day, when the homework was handed in, only 3 people got it all right. One was Gu Jinyu, one was Zhuang Yueshi, and the last one was her. The girl's surname was Yu. She also got in through the back door. She and Zhuang Mengdai took turns to compete for the last place in class. The teacher had never praised her like this before. Of course, she was not the kind of person who liked to eat alone. She immediately told her classmates about how she could solve the questions in the clinic next door. So that afternoon, the clinic, which had been empty for a few days, was full again. Little smarty Jinkong walked out of the clinic with a heroic spirit and looked at the competitors who were vainly trying to snatch the milk tea business from them. You can imitate Jiao Jiao's formula, but you can't imitate Jiao Jiao's IQ. Madame Yao had not seen her daughter and son for a few days. She missed them very much. Unfortunately, concubine Ling had been stripped of her power recently, so she had to manage the New Year's Eve. She was so busy that her feet did not touch the ground. She could not leave at all. Madam, people from the Yao family are here. Nanny Fang went into the room to report. Madame Yao put down the half-done paper and asked strangely, "Who are they?" "Eldest Master and Sister Xian." It was Yao Yuan and Yao Xian. Yao Yuan was Madame Yao's older brother, and Yao Xian was his daughter. Ever since Madame Yao moved to the hot spring villa, she had not seen the Yao family for 10 years. Yao Yuan had changed a lot. He had experienced a lot. He was clearly younger than Marquis Gu by a few years, but he looked older than him. Yao Xian had grown into a slender and elegant woman. She looked a bit like Madame Yao and could be considered a beauty. In comparison, Madame Yao's appearance had not changed much. She was still beautiful, but her temperament had become more capable and steady. Yao Yuan was so excited that he could not speak. "Eldest brother, come in and sit." Madame Yao brought her eldest brother and Yao Xian to a warm room and had the servants serve tea and snacks. "You can all leave. Nanny Fang, stay." "Yes." The maidservants left in a single file. Nanny Fang wiped her tears. It was clear that she was crying tears of joy. She was Madame Yao's attendant and came from the Yao family. Sister Fang also did not change. Yao Yuan said with a smile, "This servant is old." Nanny Fang choked. Madame Yao's gaze landed behind Yao Yuan. She was a little uneasy girl. She warmly said, "Sister Xian is already so old. I remember that when I left, she was still a little girl. She should be of marriageable age soon, right?" Yao Xian did not dare to speak. Yuan turned around and tugged at her. "Aunt is asking you a question." Yao Xian said shyly, "She will be of marriageable age after spring." Madame Yao waved at her. "Come and sit. Eat something." Yao Xian turned around to look at her father. Seeing Yao Yuan nod, she carefully walked to Madame Yao's side. She sat down and picked up a snack that Madame Yao handed over and ate it carefully. It was Yao Xian's first time coming to the Marquis Fu. In the 10 years that Madame Yao was not in the Fu, the Yao family did not visit. They only sent some things to Gu Jinyu during festivals. Marquis Gu would have people send gifts to the Yao family in return. Yao Xian felt that the Marquis Fu was really big. Aunt's courtyard was really grand. The snacks were also exquisite. The Yao family chef could not make them. "Aunt, is Sister Jinyu here?" Yao Xian asked. Madame Yao said, "She went to the girls' school and is not in the Fu." Oh. Yao Xian was very envious. She also wanted to go to school, but her grandmother and parents only allowed her brother to go to school. Madame Yao looked at Granny Fang. "Granny Fang, bring Sister Xian to walk around the garden." Marquis Ding, Anfu's scenery was one of the best in the capital. Moreover, she understood that this eldest brother had something to say to her. "Yes, madam." "Young miss, please come with me." Granny Fang led Yao Xian out of the yard. There was no one else in the room. Madame Yao no longer put on a warm and welcoming appearance. She faintly asked, "Eldest brother suddenly came to find me. Is something the matter?" Yao Yuan opened his mouth and dryly laughed, saying, "I just came to see you. You returned to the capital and did not visit your maternal family. You did not send any news to your maternal family about Jinyu's marriageable age ceremony. They all said that you disliked the Yao family for losing face. I know that is not the case. Younger sister, are you still blaming us for what happened in the past? Madame Yao drank a mouthful of tea. Eldest brother should not bring up the matters of the past. Why did not return to the Yao family and did not allow the Yao family to attend Jinyu's marriageable age ceremony? Eldest brother should know better than anyone else. Just treat it as me looking down on the Yao family. Yao Yuan bitterly said, in the past, we were in the wrong. We should not have broken up your good marriage and married you into the Marquis Fu. Before Madame Yao married Marquis Gu, she actually had an engagement. The other party's family was not as well off as Marquis Ding and Fu. Thus, when Marquis Gu came to ask for a marriage, the Yao family did not say anything and canceled the engagement. They did not dare tell Marquis Gu about this matter. They also did not allow Madame Yao to say anything. Yao Yuan knew that his younger sister had nearly eloped with that person. It was he who personally caught his younger sister. He even had someone break that man's leg. Yao Yuan, father and mother did it for the Yao family, Madame Yao. It's a pity that you did not expect that I would not help the Yao family. You married a daughter over for nothing. Yao Yuan choked. That's right. After his younger sister married, she immediately drew a clear line with her maternal family. Even father did not get to see his younger sister one last time before he died. However, this could not be blamed on his younger sister, who told his younger sister to be in the residence and not be able to rush back to the capital. He blamed himself and said, "Younger sister, everything that happened in the past was eldest brother's fault. Eldest brother did not protect you and did not stand on your side against father and mother. If you want to blame someone, blame eldest brother." If there was anyone in the Yao family that could speak with Madame Yao, it should be Yao Yuan. Yao Yuan doted on this younger sister very much. The reason he broke up the Mandarin ducks was not to extract any benefits from Madame Yao. It was just that he felt that man was not worthy of his younger sister. He thought that after his younger sister married into the Marquis Fu, she would become a person above others. However, he did not know that he had personally pushed his younger sister into the fire pit. He sadly said, "Father was filled with regret on his deathbed. He told me that if there was a day that I could see younger sister, I would definitely apologize on his behalf." There is also mother. She also knows that she was wrong in the past. She has already changed. Can you forgive her? Her body is not very good. I fear that she does not have much time left. Senior servant Fang took Yao Xian around the Marquis Fu. Yao Xian opened her eyes. She knew that her aunt had married into a large family, but she did not expect it to be so old. When Yao Xian returned to Madame Yao's courtyard, Yao Yuan got up and said goodbye. Madame Yao had people prepare gifts for them. She gave Yao Xian a pair of ruby stone noodles. Yao Xian liked it very much. However, she was rejected by Yao Yuan. He did not come to ask for anything. He sincerely came to ask for his younger sister's forgiveness. After the two left, Madame Yao sat by the window and sighed. Senior servant Fang, do you think I should go back? Senior servant Fang comforted her. How can there be an unresolvable hatred between mother and daughter? Before the old lady died, she wanted to see the two children. You should take eldest miss and little Gongzi to see her for the last time. She is not only your mother, but also the grandmother of eldest miss and little Gongzi. She first went to the medical hall to ask Gu Jiao. I am not forcing you to recognize a grandmother. I heard that she is about to die. Your medical skills are excellent, so I hope that you can go and take a look at her. Gu Jiao did not have any objections. Gu Yan did not have classes tomorrow, so he could go. Madame Yao waited until the girls' school ended before asking Gu Jinyu. She knew that Gu Jinyu also did not have classes tomorrow. However, Gu Jinyu said apologetically, Mother, I promised Consort Shu that I would go to the palace to see her tomorrow. Can I go see grandmother another day? Another day would be after the new year. Madame Yao wanted to say that she went to Consort Shu's place every few days, so it was fine if she did not go once. However, before she could speak, she heard Gu Jinyu obediently say, Mother, why don't you go first? I will go to the palace to pay respects to aunt before going. Digression. 1996. Just 4 votes away from reaching 2000. Asterisk in addition, yesterday's lottery digression did not appear in the bookstore. It will be posted again today. Readers who did not win on the app can go to Sina Weibo, Xiaoxiang Bookstore official Weibo, Fong Fong, and repost the lottery to win Dior lipstick, antique jewelry, and Little Jing Kong accessories. Good luck to everyone. Carrot. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated even faster. Millions of novels will be read for free. All the novels that cannot be found online will be available here. https://www.zhhbqg.com/89642_89642/114429380. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhhbqg.com Biku Go mobile reading website. zhhbqg.com. Chapter 159. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more interesting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels will be read for free. All the novels that can't be found online will be available here. Since she said so, Yao Shi couldn't force her. The next day, Yao Shi came to buy Shui Ali early to pick up Gu Jiao and Gu Yan. Little Jing Kong also wanted to go. The main reason was that he wanted to be with Jiao Jiao. It was rare for him to have a day off. Yao Shi had already treated Little Jing Kong as her own child, so she happily brought him along. The whole family sat in the Marquis Manor's horse carriage, and the horses galloped. Little Jing Kong was very excited. He sat next to Gu Jiao and shook his head. "You're so happy?" Gu Jiao asked him. Little Jing Kong shook his short legs and tilted his head. "This is my first time visiting relatives." Hearing this, the people in the carriage were stunned. The little monk had always lived in the temple and had never visited relatives. Although he and Gu Jiao had a family after they left the mountain, they still didn't have any relatives that they could visit. Little Jing Kong was very smart and did things in an orderly manner, causing Gu Jiao and the others to rarely treat him as an ordinary child. It was also at this moment that Gu Jiao realized that Little Jing Kong had always wanted to integrate into the life of a normal person, just like the other children in the village. Gu Jiao looked at the little guy's expectant eyes and patted his little bald head. "But I don't have any hair. Will grandmother not like me?" Little Jing Kong's way of addressing his family was similar to Gu Jiao's. As long as Gu Jiao acknowledged it, he would call them that. Although Gu Jiao had never called Yao Shi mother, she was willing to be close to her. Little Jing Kong could feel it, so he was also very close to Yao Shi. Yao Shi said that when she went to visit her maternal grandmother today, Little Jing Kong had specially observed Gu Jiao's expression. She did not have any taboos when addressing her maternal grandmother, so Little Jing Kong guessed that he could address her as such. Yao Shi warmly said, "No, Little Jing Kong is just as cute without hair." Little Jing Kong said proudly, "I think I'm cute too." The corner of Gu Yan's mouth twitched. He took the tiger head hat and covered his little head. "Put on the hat. Aren't you afraid of the cold?" Little Jing Kong was furious. "You're just jealous that I'm younger and cuter than you." Gu Yan chuckled. "You're cute. I think you're just pitiful because no one loves you." Little Jing Kong put his hands on his hips and stomped his feet. "Of course not. I'm Kiki AI. The two of them bickered and soon arrived at Yao Manor. It was Gu Yan's first time visiting his maternal grandfather's home. Although Yao Shi had disagreements with her maternal family, she had never shown it in front of Gu Yan. Therefore, Gu Yan's impression of the Yao family wasn't bad. Due to Little Clear Sky's encouragement, he even had a faint trace of anticipation for this trip to visit his relatives. Yao Shi had sent someone to inform her maternal family last night. Early in the morning, Yao Yuan and his wife, Madame He, were waiting at the door. The weather was cold, and the two of them were shivering with hot water in their hands. When they finally saw the carriage coming, they hurriedly walked forward without waiting for the carriage to stop. Yao Yuan excitedly said, "Younger sister." After the carriage stopped, senior servant Fang came down first and helped Yao Shi down. Yao Shi greeted her older brother and sister-in-law, then looked at the carriage. In the carriage, a little bean jumped down first. Yao Yuan and Madame He were stunned. Then Gu Jiao and Gu Yan came down one by one. Everyone present could guess that Gu Jiao and Gu Yan were Yao Shi's twins, but that cute little bean, it couldn't be Yao Shi's second child, right? Yao Yuan looked at his younger sister. Yao Shi called little Jing Kong over. Jing Kong, greet eldest uncle and eldest aunt. Little Jing Kong called out crisply, "Eldest uncle, eldest aunt." Madam He was a little confused. This was her younger sister-in-law's second child? Yao Yuan had chatted with Madame Yao yesterday and knew that this should be the child Jiao Jiao adopted from the mountains. His name was Jing Kong. Little Jing Kong is so obedient. Yao Yuan praised little Jing Kong. Madame He was immersed in the great shock of seeing Madame Yao. She was only 3 years older than Madame Yao. Both of them used to be delicate and beautiful beauties. In a flash, more than 10 years had passed. Madame Yao was still charming and didn't show many signs of aging, but Madame He's face was already wrinkled. Time seemed to only affect the people around her. Of course, Madame He cared about Madame Yao the most. After seeing Madame Yao, she felt inferior. Only then did she seriously look at Madame Yao's children. Little Jing Kong had already run to the front to look at the stone lion at the door. Madame He's gaze landed on Gu Yan and Gu Jiao. Gu Yan had inherited Marquis Gu's good looks and was as pure as jade. As for Gu Jiao, Madame He looked at the birthmark on her face and awkwardly opened her mouth. "This is Jinyu?" Madame Yao said, "It's Jiao Jiao." Yesterday, when Yao Yuan went to the Marquis Fu, he already knew that the two daughters were swapped. He also knew that Gu Jiao still hadn't returned to the manor and was still living in a small residence outside the manor. A trace of disappointment flashed across Madame He's eyes. She looked in the direction of the carriage. "Jean, you didn't come?" Madame Yao's brows furrowed. Jinyu. The one standing in front of her was Jiao Jiao. Couldn't she greet Jiao Jiao first? Gu Jiao was very calm. She didn't greet Madame He and directly walked past her to catch up with little Jing Kong, who was looking at the stone lion in front. Yao Yuan glared at Madame He. Madame He pursed her lips. What was wrong with asking? He didn't come, but she wasn't allowed to ask? Madame He looked at Gu Yan and smiled. "This is Yan, right?" Gu Yan, huh? Ignoring her older sister. He also ignored her. Gu Yan didn't even look at Madame He and strode forward to find Gu Jiao and little Jing Kong. Yao Yuan and Madame He were extremely embarrassed. Yao Yuan didn't care about the difference in treatment, but he didn't expect his wife to have such a reaction. He awkwardly cleared his throat and said to Madame Yao, "Mother is in the room. Younger sister, quickly go in and see her." Madame Yao stepped into the house. Madame He walked beside her and didn't forget to ask her with a smile, "Younger sister, why didn't Jinyu come?" Madame Yao stopped in her tracks. She entered the palace. Madame He was dumbfounded. Jinyu is really amazing he can enter the palace. Madame Yao didn't want to pay attention to this sister-in-law. But she didn't come to see her sister-in-law today. They went to old Madame Yao's courtyard. Old Madame Yao was sitting on the Kong in the East Room. It was different from what Yao Yuan said. Her face was really pale, but it didn't look like she was dying. Madame Yao frowned again and turned to look at Yao Yuan. Yao Yuan lowered his head. Old Madame Yao said in a deep voice, "Don't look at him. I asked him to call you over. If I didn't say that, would you come back? When you married into the Marquis's house, you didn't say anything and cut off all contact with the Yao family. I followed you. What? More than 10 years have passed. Isn't it enough to appease your anger? I'm already so old. I don't know how many days I have left. What's wrong with me wanting to see my 2 precious grandsons? Can't I see them?" This matter made people uncomfortable. But when Madame Yao heard that she wanted to see the twins, she was not so angry. Madame Yao called the 3 children in. The first one to come in was Guyen. When old Madame Yao saw Guyen, her turbid eyes suddenly brightened. She reached out her hand to Guyen. "Yenna? Are you Yenna? Quick, come to grandmama. Let grandmother see you." Guyen saw that she really liked him. He hesitated and walked over. Old Madame Yao was so excited that her hands were shaking. She held Guyen's hand with one hand and touched Guyen's face with the other hand. "Grandmother finally sees you. You look like your father." Guyen was not liked by old Madame Gu in the Marquis's house. In contrast, old Madame Yao's love made people feel warm. "Call me grandmother," old Madame Yao said. Guyen hesitated. When he was about to call grandmother, Gu Jiao came in with little Jingkong. Little Jingkong tilted his head and looked at the old woman on the arhat bed. He asked cutely, "Is it grandmother?" Old Madame Yao was stunned. Yao Yuan leaned over and explained in her ear, "Jiao Jiao adopted a little monk on the mountain. His name is Jingkong. I mentioned him to you yesterday." Old Madame Yao heard about the 2 children's background and Gu Jiao's situation from her son. Since this little guy was Jingkong, then the one holding his hand should be Gu Jiao. After all, he was Madame Yao's biological child. Old Madame Yao didn't dislike him. But she also looked behind them like Madame He and asked, "Where is Jinyu? Why didn't she come?" Jinyu came to the palace. Madame He came in with a smile and said proudly. Madame Yao said, "She will come after greeting Imperial Concubine Shu." Gu Jiao noticed the disappointment in old Madame Yao's eyes. But old Madame Yao didn't neglect Gu Jiao and little Jingkong. She looked at Gu Jiao and little Jingkong kindly. "You are good children. Come here." Little Jingkong held Jiao Jiao's hand and walked over. Little Jingkong called grandmother and stretched out his little head to allow grandmother to touch his little bald head. Gu Jiao didn't call anyone. Yao Yuan explained in a low voice, "Jiao Jiao just recognized his little sister. He is introverted." "It's okay." Old Madame Yao smiled gently. Yao sure looked at her mother, who was holding a bowl of water. She finally believed what her brother said to her yesterday. Her mother really repented. She wouldn't treat her son as a treasure like before. Her daughter was something that could be sacrificed for the family at any time. But Yao sure didn't know that she was happy too early. Old Madame Yao's bowl of water was held for her to see. After several people went out, there was only Guyen left in the room. Old Madame Yao asked a maid to bring a big box. She opened it and took out a big and red persimmon. She handed it to Guyen and said, "This is the persimmon king that your uncle spent a lot of money to buy from someone. Grandmother specially kept it for you. Try it." "Only one?" Guyen asked. Old Madame Yao was stunned. Guyen said, "Then I will keep it for Jie and little Jingkong." "They have it. It's yours." Old Madame Yao called a maid in the room and handed the box to her. "The persimmons that Di brought yesterday. Pick 2 of the biggest persimmons and give them to Jiao Jiao and that child." When Guyen heard that grandmother didn't call little Jingkong's name, he unconsciously frowned. "I am going to find mother." He found an excuse to go out. But he didn't find Yao Sure. Instead, he went to the small garden where little Jingkong played. Little Jingkong was happily making snowmen on the ground. Gu Jiao was watching him. The maid in old Madame Yao's yard brought 2 persimmons. One for Gu Jiao and the other for little Jingkong. Little Jingkong was a sensible and contented child. "Wow, what a big red persimmon. Jiao Jiao, can I eat it?" Gu Jiao nodded. Little Jingkong began to peel the persimmon in the snow. Chapter 160. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated even faster. Millions of novels will be read for free. All the novels that can't be found online will be available here. Guyen sat beside Gu Jiao with a dark face. Gu Jiao laughed. What are you angry about? Aren't you angry? Gu Yan looked at her with a puzzled expression. This question was equivalent to asking in vain. How could he not sense whether she was angry or not? Little Jing Kong was a child. He didn't understand these twists and turns, but she should know. Gu Yan didn't understand why she wasn't angry. Gu Jiao lazily leaned back in the chair. What's there to be angry about? She wasn't someone who lived under other people's eyes. Other people's opinions of her couldn't hurt her. She also didn't rely on other people's help to live. Because she was strong enough, she could ignore all the superficial things. Gu Yan couldn't reach his sister's level for the time being, but by Gu Jiao's side, his emotions were also affected by her strong heart and gradually calmed down. Little Jing Kong ate happily, and his whole body was covered in food. Jiao Jiao, I'm dirty from eating. It's okay, I brought you clothes. Gu Jiao brought little Jing Kong into the side room and washed his face and hands. She also took a small cotton-padded jacket from the small basket and put it on him. Old Madam Yao had a son and a daughter. Yao Yuan also had a son and a daughter. The daughter was Yao Xian, and the son was called Yao Feng Yi. Yao Yifeng was studying abroad, and it was said that he wouldn't come back this year. The whole family sat at the table to eat. They were all family, so there was no division between men and women. Yao Shi first carried little Jing Kong to wash his hands. She found that his shoes were wet from stepping on the snow, so she carefully changed his footwear and tiger-headed shoes for him. In all fairness, little Jing Kong was really good-looking. Old Madam Yao had never seen a child more beautiful than him in her life. But no matter how beautiful he was still an orphan. In the future, he would have to rely on the Hofu. But in front of Yao Shi, Old Madam Yao still gave little Jing Kong enough love. Old Madam Yao picked up the biggest drumstick and gave it to him. Little Jing Kong said politely, "Thank you, Grandma, but I can't eat meat now. As long as he grew up, it would be fine." Grand Aunt said that when he grew up, Meaty would be willing to let him eat her. Eat this. Old Madam Yao placed the egg soup in front of little Jing Kong. She had put in a lot of effort to make this egg custard. She had put in some lilies, and it was very beautiful. Little Jing Kong's appetite was greatly stimulated, and he happily ate. The meal was rather amicable. After eating, Old Madam Yao asked Yao Xian to bring Gu Jiao and the other two to the garden for a walk. Gu Yan grabbed a small blanket. After walking for a while, little Jing Kong rubbed his eyes. "Are you sleepy?" Gu Jiao asked. Little Jing Kong shook his head. "I'm not sleepy. I just ate a little too much." Gu Jiao laughed and picked him up. Little Jing Kong's eyes widened. "I'm really not sleepy. I don't want to sleep at all." He tilted his head and fell asleep in Gu Jiao's arms. Yao Xian did not understand why Gu Yan would grab a blanket when he was walking. But when she saw Gu Yan draping the blanket over little Jing Kong, she understood everything. This cousin was quite attentive. "Cousin, when is cousin Jinyu coming over?" She smiled and asked. Gu Yan said impatiently, "You can ask her." "How would I know?" Yao Xian choked and felt a little awkward. She said, "I heard that cousin Jinyu went to a girls' school. Is that true?" Gu Yan was annoyed with Gu Jinyu, but this cousin kept asking him if he was blind when his biological sister was here. "I'm sleepy too. I'm going to sleep." After he said that, he pulled Gu Jiao and left without looking back. There was a reason why the Yao matriarch had sent the three children away. She gave He Shi a look, and He Shi said to Yao Shi, "Younger sister, mother is tired. Let mother rest. Come to my room to talk." Yao Shi did not like this sister-in-law, but she could not refuse. She could only go to He Shi's room. He Shi did not disappoint Yao Shi. After exchanging a few pleasantries, she dug a hole for Yao Shi. "Younger sister, has Jinyu's marriage been arranged?" Based on Yao Shi's understanding of He Shi, she would not care about this for no reason. Yao Shi was suspicious. Could it be that He Shi wanted to arrange marriage between Jinyu and Yao Fengyi? Yao Shi said calmly, "Not yet. Her marriage will be decided by the old madam and the marquis. I'm not worried about this." He Shi smiled. "Jinyu is promising. Her marriage will not be bad in the future. But no matter what, she is already of marriageable age. As her mother, you should be more careful. Yao Shi was even more puzzled. If she was not having any ideas about Jinyu, then what was she doing? He sure smiled and said, Sister Xian is about to be of marriageable age. She's not as capable as Jinyu, so I'm thinking of settling her marriage early. Otherwise, when she gets older, it won't be easy to talk about marriage. Yao Shi glanced at her. Eldest sister-in-law wants me to help Sister Xian arrange a marriage? This was not difficult. After concubine Ling's position was taken away, old Madame Gu was too busy and left many things to her to take care of. She was currently preparing New Year's gifts for the various large families. She could take this opportunity to help Sister Xian. He sure smiled, but did not speak. Yao Shi's heart skipped a beat. You wouldn't have taken a fancy to the young masters of the Marquis Fu, right? There's no way. He sure originally wanted to say the heir of the Marquis Fu, but seeing Yao Shi's reaction, she smiled embarrassedly. She pulled Yao Shi's hand and said, Younger sister, don't let the fertile water flow into other people's fields. I am doing this for your own good. When Sister Xian marries over, our two families will be even closer. With Sister Xian going to the Marquis Fu to help you, you will be able to live more comfortably, right? It is better to resolve enmity than to keep it alive. When Sister Xian marries over, you will no longer be enemies. You will be mother and son. Yao Shi did not know how he sure could say such a thing. She and Yan were about to be bullied to death by those three stepsons, yet eldest sister-in-law wanted her to marry her niece over? Resolve what? She would never reconcile with the three of them in this lifetime. Yao Shi said, You feel that selling me is not enough. So you want to sell Sister Xian, right? Madam, he said, Sister Xian is willing to do so. Yao Shi laughed in anger. Her aunt has been bullied to this extent, yet she is rushing to marry the person who bullied her aunt. Eldest sister-in-law, this is the kind of child you have raised. When he sure heard this, her expression was not very good. Younger sister, now that you have become rich, you no longer care about the life and death of your maternal family. If we had not married you into the Marquis Fu, how could you have the wealth you have today? You have not cared about your maternal family for over a decade, and we have not said a single bad word about you. Let me ask you, how could there be such a good maternal family in this world? Now that your own niece is about to be married, you would rather let an outsider benefit than marry her into the manor. What? Does younger sister not want to see your maternal family live better than you? Yao Shi sneered. How does eldest sister-in-law know that she will live better than me after marrying into the manor? He sure raised her chin and said, Our Sister Xian is obedient and sensible. She will definitely be able to make husband and the old madam like her. If this was in the past, Yao Shi might have argued with her and explained the reasoning behind it, but later on, she gradually understood that some people were unreasonable. She only acknowledged her own reasoning. She did not care how much hardship Yao Shi had suffered in the Marquis Fu over the years. To put it bluntly, she was just being selfish. Yao Shi stood up and left. He sure saw that Yao Shi was angry and quickly pulled her back, apologizing. Eldest sister-in-law did not mean it that way. Don't misunderstand. Eldest sister-in-law said something wrong. You are a great person and do not lower yourself to her level. Yao Shi said, I cannot say anything about the Marquis Fu's marriage. Even if she said it, they would not like her. He sure. In any case, you should bring Sister Xian to the manor to sit. Who knows which one of them would like her? Yao Shi, eldest sister-in-law, who would like her? The heir? He sure smiled and said, If the heir would like her, then that would be the best. Yao Shi was stunned. She actually wanted to marry Yao Xian to the Marquis Fu's heir? This was simply a dream. He sure looked at Yao Shi's face and awkwardly said, Second young master is also fine. Third young master should be fine, right? Yao Shi coldly said, When has it been the Yao family's daughter's turn to choose the Ding and Marquis Fu's young master? It was not that she wanted to speak up for her three stepson, but the two families were not compatible with each other in terms of social status. She was only going to be a second wife, but she was already despised by old Madame Gu. Yao Xin, on the other hand, wanted to be a legitimate first wife. Was this helping her, or did she want old Madame Gu to hate her to death? He Shi's temper rose again. Didn't younger sister also marry into the Marquis Fu? Younger sister still had an engagement in the past. How could she be as pure as our sister Xin? Back then, the Marquis liked younger sister. How could the heir not like our sister Xin? Don't they all have the same face? Could it be that sister Xion's face is worse than younger sister's? She was not pure. She relied on her face to serve others. She willingly married into the Marquis Fu. Good. Good, very good. Yao Shi took a deep breath and asked, "Are these words eldest sister-in-law's meaning or mother's meaning?" He Shi was speechless. Of course, it was her and mother-in-law's meaning, but mother-in-law did not allow her to say it. Yao Shi, however, understood everything. Change? She was too naive. Originally, they were going to eat dinner before returning to the manor, but Yao Shi could no longer stay. Jiao Jiao, let's return to the manor. Yao Shi entered a side room and said to Gu Jiao. Good. Gu Jiao did not ask why. Gu Yan also did not ask. Old Madame Yao chased after them with the help of the servants. She scolded He Shi and told Yao Shi not to argue with her. Then, she took out the presents she had prepared for the children. Gu Yan sneered and knocked over his and Gu Jiao's presents in front of everyone. They saw that it was also a snack, but a red packet rolled out of Gu Yan's box. Gu Jiao's was nothing. Little Jing Kong's was also nothing. But the box that Yao Shi brought to Gu Jinyu also had a red packet. Yao Shi looked at the presents for the 4 children and was so angry that her face turned white. Little Jing Kong was asleep. Gu Yan was too lazy to pretend to be peaceful. He directly took little Jing Kong's presents and threw them into the river. He also threw Gu Jinyu's. If they wanted to curry favor, they should do it themselves. Don't dirty their hands. On the carriage back to the residence, Gu Yan also fell asleep. He lay on Yao Shi's lap. Little Jing Kong lay in Gu Jiao's arms. Both of them were sleeping and snoring. Yao Shi did not say a word. She tried her best not to let Gu Jiao know how she felt, but Gu Jiao could still feel it. "I'm sorry, Jiao Jiao. I shouldn't have asked you to come today," she said guiltily. Gu Jiao said, "I think it's very good." Huh? Yao Shi was slightly stunned. Little Jing Kong kicked the blanket away. Gu Jiao pulled it over and covered him with it, saying, "I know where Madame used to live. I used to be very curious." Yao Shi looked at Gu Jiao in a daze and said, "Jiao Jiao, why would you be curious?" Gu Jiao thought for a while. "I don't know. I'm just curious. I want to know about Madame's past. I also want to know how Madame lived every day." Yao Shi covered her mouth. She did not dare to believe what she heard. Was her Jiao Jiao starting to care about her? "Jiao Jiao, does Madame regret it? Do you regret marrying Marquis Gu?" When Yao Shi and He Shi were arguing, Gu Jiao was in the garden not far away. With her hearing, she more or less heard some of it. Yao Shi did not hesitate and shook her head, saying, "I don't regret it." "Why?" Gu Jiao asked. Yao Shi lowered her head and caressed Gu Yan's cheek. Then she looked at Gu Jiao lovingly, saying, "Because if I didn't marry Marquis Gu, there wouldn't be you and Yen. You are Mother's most precious gifts in this life." Gu Jiao did not understand this kind of feeling. Because of what happened when she was young, she shut down her emotional system early. This was a kind of self-protection mechanism. It was to prevent her from breaking down when she was hurt by her parents. But at the same time, it made her lose the ability to treat her feelings logically. In her world, like was like, hate was hate. It was either black or white. But Yao Shi's experience was more like a gray area. She gave birth to a child she really wanted with someone she did not want to marry. Seeing her daughter's dazed expression, Yao Shi let out a laugh. Her daughter was really considerate and cute. The unhappiness in Yao Shi's heart completely disappeared. Yao Shi first sent Gu Jiao and the other two back to Bai Shui Alley before returning to the manor. Gu Jinyu accompanied consort Shu in the palace for an entire day and only returned to the manor when it was dark. There were less than 10 days until New Year's Eve. Qinghe Academy was on holiday. There was still 1 day of classes for the directorate and 3 days of classes for the 6 all. Early in the morning, Gu Jiao went to the medical center. The matriarch and a few neighbors were playing Pai Gao in the house. The old chancellor stood at the side with a dark face, paying money and serving tea. Gu Shaoshun was in the backyard knocking on wood. Gu Yan quietly came to the front yard. First, he looked around at the door. After a while, he came to the entrance of the alley and looked around. The end of the alley was connected to Chang and Main Street. People came and went in an endless stream. The shops were all pasted with window flowers and couplets. It was a joyous atmosphere. He looked around. Suddenly, a tall shadow shrouded him. "What are you doing?" It was Gu Changqing. He was wearing a golden fur coat and sitting on a tall horse, looking valiant and formidable. Gu Yan was so shocked that he trembled. He turned his head and said without changing his expression, "I'm not waiting for you." Gu Changqing. Gu Changqing saw him with his hands behind his back and asked, "What are you holding in your hands?" Gu Yan hesitated for a moment. He still took his hands out from behind his back and handed it to him. "Here." Gu Changqing took it. It was a wooden carving. The thing carved was a bit hard to explain. "Gu Changqing, a monkey?" Gu Yan exploded. "What monkey? Open your eyes and look clearly. Is there such a handsome monkey in the world?" He had learned from Gu Shaoshun for a few days and nights. His hands were already bleeding. This guy didn't know what was good for him. He said he was a monkey. Digression. On the last day of the Weibo Lucky Draw, my Weibo account is Folk Prescription. I reposted the first Weibo Lucky Draw. There's a little Jing Kong pillow and a series of peripherals that everyone likes. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/896442_8964226/114396958. HTML Genius. Remember the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Go Mobile Reading Website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 161. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with a deeper meaning that can't be found online are all available here. Humph. Gu Yan turned his back. He was so angry that the small tuft of hair on the top of his head stood up, expressing his unhappiness in the cold wind. Gu Changqing laughed softly. His voice was cold and magnetic, and when he laughed, it had an irresistible charm. Gu Yan's small eyes tried to glance behind him. Then he began to walk back. After taking a step, Gu Changqing felt that something was wrong. "What's wrong with your leg?" Gu Yan pursed his lips and said in a small voice, "It's nothing, it's just a sprain." Their house was in the middle of the alley. It wasn't far from here, but it wasn't close either. A normal person would have sprained their leg, but this was Gu Yan. Gu Changqing looked at his thin and weak body and sighed helplessly. "Get on." "HM?" Gu Yan turned to look at him. His small face was full of cleverness and playing dumb. It was very contradictory. Gu Changqing thought of the silly roe deer in the forest, but this time it was the proud one. Gu Changqing reached out his large and strong hand and grabbed Gu Yan's shoulder. He gently lifted him up and sat him on his saddle. "Don't you usually eat? So thin." Gu Yan sat in front of him and wanted to say, "How do I not eat? You're the one who doesn't eat." But when he leaned against his firm and broad chest, Gu Yan couldn't speak. Did this person eat 10 buckets of rice a day? How could he be so strong? Hold on tight, Gu Changqing reminded him. The reins were in Gu Changqing's hands, so Gu Yan could only hold on to the saddle. Originally, Gu Changqing was quite satisfied with his own saddle. After all, he was the heir of the marquis's household. The things that the servants prepared for him would not be too shabby. However, when Gu Yan's white and tender fingers were placed on the saddle, it instantly turned the saddle into a piece of rotten wood. The saddle needs to be replaced, Gu Changqing thought. I'll send you back, he said. I'm not going back, Gu Yan said. Gu Changqing looked at him strangely. Why? Gu Yan, I want to eat something. Gu Changqing, what do you want to eat? Gu Yan, sugar roasted chestnuts. There was a stall selling roasted chestnuts on the streets of Chang'an. It was in the direction he had come from. Gu Changqing turned his horse around and galloped toward the stall. Considering Gu Yan's health, he did not let the horse run too fast, but it was enough to stimulate Gu Yan. This was the first time in his life that he rode a horse. Gu Yan was so excited that he had no place to sit on the saddle. Go, go, go. Although he spoke very softly, Gu Changqing's hearing was amazing. He even heard the tone of the martial arts world's overlord. Gu Changqing could not help but smile. He sped up a little. Gu Yan was overjoyed. Gu Yan had wanted to ride a horse for a long time. But in his 15 years of life, he had been sick for 14 years. He had never ridden a horse before, and he had no playmates. Little Jing Kong and Gu Xiaoshan were both younger than him. He wanted to play with older people. Gu Jiao could calm Gu Yan down, but there were some things that Gu Jiao could not give him. Gu Changqing's appearance happened to fill this gap. Gu Yan was very happy riding the horse. After buying the sugar roasted chestnuts, he still looked unsatisfied. Gu Yan took the sugar roasted chestnuts. I didn't bring any money. I'll pay you back when we get back. No need, Gu Changqing said. Then, Gu Yan opened his mouth. Did I spend all your money? No. Oh. Gu Yan silently chewed on a sugar roasted chestnut. I still want to eat roast chicken. Gu Changqing took him to buy roast chicken again. He did not want roast chicken from ordinary shops. He had to go around half of the capital to buy roast chicken from Huji's. Gu Yan looked at the roast chicken in his hand and opened his mouth. What else do you want to eat? Gu Changqing asked. Gu Yan blinked and said, crab roe crisps from Sanyuan Pavilion. Sanyuan Pavilion was in Lingnan. Was this guy going to elope with him? Gu Changqing looked at him coldly. Gu Yan angrily pinched the saddle. Okay, then let's eat a stick of sugar-coated haws. I don't care about the shop. The ones from the roadside stalls look cheap and dirty. Eating them will cause diarrhea and make you sick. Gu Changqing. There was a sugar drink shop on Vermilion Bird Avenue that sold sugar-coated haws. The price was expensive, but it definitely would not cause any diarrhea. Gu Changqing took Gu Yan to buy a few sticks of sugar-coated haws. Gu Yan's arms could not hold any more. He could not buy any more and could only obediently go home. On the way back, the wind blew and Gu Yan shivered. Gu Changqing covered him with a fur coat. Gu Yan was wrapped in his fur coat, only revealing his furry head. But to be fair, even the back of his head was cuter than his two younger brothers at home. Gu Changqing took a deep breath. Perhaps he was possessed. When they reached home, Gu Changqing dismounted first, then carried Gu Yan down. He took the things in Gu Yan's arms and placed them on the stone table in the front yard. I'm leaving. He walked out and said. Gu Yan looked at him expectantly. Do you want to stay for a meal? My sister's cooking is very good. That girl who was even more cold-blooded than a killer? Gu Changqing found it hard to imagine what her cooking skills would be like. He looked at the kitchen behind the hall, and a trace of desire flashed in his eyes. But in the end, he restrained himself. No, I should go home. Oh. Gu Yan was disappointed. Gu Changqing mounted his horse and glanced at Gu Yan. Go in. Okay. Gu Yan nodded, but did not move. He watched as the horse disappeared at the end of the alley. Only then did he turn around and jump on the spot, feeling refreshed as he entered the house. That's right. What sprained ankle? No. Okay, your ankle is fine. Stay in bed and rest for the next few days. In 7 days, I'll come and take out the stitches for you. In a house on Vermilion Bird Avenue, Gu Jiao finished stitching up a little girl's wound and finished her first house call in the capital. The sky began to snow again. The goose feather-like snowflakes fluttered about, gathering and dispersing. Soon, the street was blocked. This place was not too far from Clearwater Alley, so Gu Jiao decided to walk back. Not long after she got off the carriage, she felt that someone was following her. She did not enter Clearwater Alley. Instead, she passed through the entrance of the alley and entered another alley. She held the silver needle in her hand without anyone noticing. Finally, the other party moved. 2 masked men wielding knives descended from the sky and blocked her path. But before they could make a move, Gu Jiao shot the silver needle into their chest. The 2 men fainted on the spot. Almost at the same time, an arrow shot from behind her. She took a step forward and stepped on the wall. She turned around in the air and ruthlessly kicked the arrow away. But the other party clearly had more tricks up their sleeves. A large net fell from the roof. Gu Jiao pulled out the dagger at her waist and cut the large net in half. But at this moment, a hook came out of nowhere and hooked onto her small basket. With a whoosh, it was taken away. Small medicine box. Gu Jiao's eyes turned cold as she looked up at the roof. She saw a man wearing black clothes and a black mask holding onto her small basket as he looked down at her. He gave a disdainful sneer and disappeared from the other side of the roof. Gu Jiao quickly chased after him. Gu Jiao felt like she had returned to her previous life, where she killed and stole from the organization. Her blood was boiling. She could feel that the other party's skills were not simple. The other party had tried to plot against her several times, but she had dodged them all. In the end, Gu Jiao chased after the other party to a courtyard that seemed to have been abandoned for a long time. The other party had already hidden inside. The moment Gu Jiao stepped over the threshold, a row of sharp arrows flew towards her. She had dodged bullets in her previous life, so this kind of speed was not a problem for her. The arrows that seemed to be flying at high speed seemed to be in slow motion in Gu Jiao's eyes. Gu Jiao easily dodged them. A cold snort came from the courtyard. I didn't expect you to be able to chase me all the way here. You really do have some skills. The voice came from behind the mask, so it was slightly different from the original voice. Gu Jiao could hear from his tone that he had come here specifically to deal with her. Gu Jiao walked into the courtyard and saw the other party on the steps of the corridor. Who are you? The black-clothed man sneered. I should be the one asking you that. Who are you? Gu Jiao let out an O sound. You don't even know who I am, and you dare to rob me? The black-clothed man said, I heard that you are a village girl from a small county. You grew up in the village and had a mental illness. It was only a year ago that you recovered. But looking at your skills, you don't look like a village girl at all. Gu Jiao did not feel guilty at all. So what? Does it bother you? The man slowly walked down the steps. The whole mask covered his face completely, only revealing a pair of extremely malicious eyes. He stared coldly at Gu Jiao. Where did the Real Miss Gu go? It seemed that he was not a rival of the medical center, but someone related to her. Gu Jiao calmly looked at the basket in his hand. Give it back to me. The man took a step forward and arrogantly said, Tell me where you took the real Miss Gu, and I will consider giving it back to you. Gu Jiao irritably frowned. Don't talk nonsense. If you want to fight, then fight. Don't be a sissy. The man had been in the capital for many years. He had a bad reputation and was powerful and domineering. It was the first time that he was called a sissy. His face turned black. Gu Jiao really did not have the time to talk nonsense with him. She still had to go home and cook. Gu Jiao raised her hand to greet the other party. The man's movements were more strange than Gu Jiao imagined. After a few rounds, Gu Jiao did not gain an advantage over him. However, it was not easy for him to control Gu Jiao. His brows wrinkled. When he made a move, he would take down the enemy in 3 moves. This girl had endured more than 10 moves. As the two trembled, the sound of horse hooves came from the alley. Then Gu Changqing shouted, "Who is it?" The man's body froze. Gu Jiao took advantage of the situation and chopped down with her hand. She took back her small basket and raised her other hand. With her palm facing down, a dagger flew out from her sleeve. With a twist of her palm, she threw it out with great force. The man did not dodge in time. His left arm was cut, and a hidden weapon that he did not have time to shoot fell to the ground. He looked back at the direction of the door. Gritting his teeth, he used his qinggong to leave from the back door. "It's you." As soon as the man left, Gu Changqing entered the courtyard. He was surprised to see Gu Jiao. "Were you fighting with someone just now?" Gu Jiao shook her small basket. "Someone stole my things." "Who?" Gu Changqing asked. Gu Jiao shook her head. "I didn't see clearly. He was wearing a mask." Gu Changqing looked around and found the hidden weapon on the ground. He picked it up and frowned. "It's him?" Gu Jiao made a sound of surprise. "You know him?" Gu Changqing said, "The capital's #1 bandit, Fei Shuang." This frost art is his unique hidden weapon. Fei Shuang was a very troublesome person for the government. The Supreme Court, the Imperial Government, and the Ministry of Justice had all been attacked by him before. Many confidential files had been stolen from them. He was one of the most wanted bandits in the Imperial Court. Unfortunately, he appeared and disappeared like a ghost. No one had ever caught him. No one had even seen his real face. Gu Changqing asked, "Why would he steal your things?" Did Fei Shuang not care about his reputation? Did he steal from a little girl? Gu Jiao thought of the conversation with him and said, "He seems to know me." "Fei Shuang knows you?" Gu Changqing was stunned. As night fell, the snow became heavier. The Gu mansion was shrouded in a sea of snow. Gu Chunglin could barely get off the ground now, but he could not walk too far. He usually sat in a wheelchair. He asked the servant to push the wheelchair out of his room and went to his second brother's place. The children in the mansion all had their own courtyard. So did Gu Chunglin. However, he was used to living with his second brother, so he was not in a hurry to move out. Second brother, second brother. He knocked on the door. Gu Chungfeng came from the other side of the corridor and looked at him. "What's wrong?" Gu Chunglin said, "Second brother, where did you go?" "I was looking for you everywhere." Gu Chungfeng said, "Why are you looking for me?" Gu Chunglin was not in a hurry to answer. He looked up at him. "Are you not feeling well? You look so pale." "I went to the storeroom to find something. It's freezing. It's a bit cold." "Oh." Gu Chunglin did not suspect him. "Second brother, do you know where my spinning top went? The one that the 5th prince gave me. I can't find it." Gu Chungfeng said, "Didn't I put it in the 3rd cabinet on the right side of the cabinet? Go look for it." Gu Chunglin ordered the servant who pushed the wheelchair. The servant hurriedly went and came back with an exquisite spinning top. "It's really there." Gu Chunglin took the spinning top and stood up in surprise. "Second brother, you're amazing. You remember where I put it." As he spoke, he happily patted his second brother's arm. He heard his second brother groan. He was stunned. "Second brother, what's wrong? Did I hurt you?" Gu Chungfeng calmly put his hands behind his back and said in a normal tone, "No, I'm fine. You go play. I'll go back to my room first." Gu Chunglin, "Oh. Second brother is acting weird today." The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that cannot be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964286/114392827. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bqg mobile reading website. zhbqg.com Chapter 162. The newest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that cannot be found online are all available here. On the other side, Gu Chongqing led the horse and sent Gu Jiao back to Jadewater Alley. He could not understand why the capital's #1 thief, Fei Shuang, would know Gu Jiao. Perhaps Gu Jiao was overthinking it. Fei Shuang only stole things of great value, whether it was treasures or court secrets. The most valuable thing in her small basket was the medicine box. Even if it was a box of top-quality medicine, it would not be able to enter Fei Shuang's eyes. Could it be that she really came for her? But Gu Chongqing did not feel that there was a problem with Gu Jiao herself. Or perhaps Fei Shuang had set her eyes on Marquis Ding and manner? We're here. Gu Jiao's voice pulled Gu Chongqing back from his thoughts. Gu Chongqing looked at the residence behind Gu Jiao. This was a residence that was smaller than his courtyard, but this residence had a different atmosphere. He could not tell what it was, but in short, it made people yearn for it. Do you want to go in and sit? Gu Jiao asked. No, I need to return to the manor. Gu Chongqing said. He should have returned to the manor a long time ago. After sending Gu Yan back, they encountered a fight. He went to take a look, and then sent her back the way they came. Actually, it was already very late. Gu Jiao's clear eyes looked at him. Many thanks. I did not do anything. When he arrived, Fei Shuang had already left. He thought, even if he did not appear, nothing would have happened to this girl. Of course, nothing would have happened to Gu Jiao, but she would not have been able to smoothly retrieve the medicine box. Of course, Gu Jiao did not want to thank him for this. Gu Jiao bent her lips. Thank you for taking Gu Yan out to play. He is very happy. She had seen Gu Yan sitting on Gu Chongqing's horse when she was making a house call at Vermilion Bird Avenue. She was holding a few sticks of sparkling and translucent candied haws with a smug expression on her face. In fact, Gu Yan lacked the role of a father when he was growing up. What Marquis Gu couldn't give him, Gu Chongqing did. Gu Jiao had never seen Gu Yan so smug. Some stability could be given by Gu Jiao, but some courage could only be given by her father and brother. The little sickly girl who couldn't even lift a bucket of water was gradually growing her own wings. Ah, you saw it. Gu Chongqing cleared his throat. When I left, I didn't expect to go to so many places. I forgot to say goodbye to your family. I don't know if they were worried. Gu Jiao smiled. Great aunt knows what to do. Although the old lady did not do her job all day long, her eyes were fixed on the children. Gu Yan was waiting for them at the entrance of the alley. Little Jing Kong's 7 fat chicks, 1 baby eagle, and Gu Yan's puppy were all lying motionlessly on the doorsill. They would bark if he really walked away with a stranger. That's good. Gu Chongqing was relieved. I'm going in, Gu Jiao said. Okay. Gu Chongqing nodded. He suddenly thought of something and called her. By the way, do you still have more of the golden sore medicine you gave me last time? What? Golden sore medicine? The next day, after hearing Gu Jiao's words, the Chinibu boss of the clinic was so shocked that his eyes widened. How much did you say they wanted? More than 1,000 bottles. Gu Jiao said lightly. The Chinibu boss fell on the chair and pinched his philtrum. Pinch, pinch, pinch. Finally, she managed to wake herself up this time. This was 1,000 bottles of golden sore medicine. How much money would they earn if they sold it? The Chinibu boss rubbed his hands. Did you lower the price? Gu Jiao said. Oh, I didn't lower the price. I sold it to them at the price I sold it to others. The Chinibu boss was confused. No, I sold it to others at the retail price. Why would they sell it at the same price for 1,000 bottles? Who is so arrogant? Gu Jiao, the military camp. The Chinibu boss finally fainted again after pinching his philtrum. How could a small clinic like theirs do business with the military camp? What kind of good fortune was this? The military camp had medical officials from the imperial court. All the medical supplies used were distributed by the imperial court. They had never done business with the people. If there was something that the imperial court could not get, they would find one of the biggest clinics in the capital. For example, the Hu family's Hui Chun Hall. This business was not urgent. The goods would be delivered after the new year. Right now, Gu Jiao asked the Chunibi boss to search for the herbs. Once they had the herbs, they would be able to make the medicine in batches. As soon as the business was good, the clinic was short on manpower. After the Chunibi boss woke up, he immediately sent people to contact the doctors in the capital to see if there was anyone who was willing to work in their Miracle Hands Hall. Gu Jiao and the Chunibi boss were busy with their own matters. When it was close to noon, an acquaintance came to the clinic. It was Du Xiaorun, whom they had not seen for a long time. Du Xiaoyun was no longer dressed like a scholar. She had changed into a light blue dress. Others dressed elegantly, but she looked valiant and formidable. She strode into the clinic and came in front of Gu Jiao. She pointed at herself and said, "Miss Gu, do you still remember me?" That's right. She already knew that the other party's surname was Gu. Gu Jiao was in the middle of putting the medicine she bought into the medicine cabinet. Hearing this, she did not stop and lightly replied, "Today's consultation is with Dr. Song." "I'm not here to see a doctor. I'm here to look for you," Du Xiaoyun said. "I wanted to come a long time ago, but I've been too busy with my homework recently." Originally, the girls' school was not so busy with their homework. But recently, for some reason, the students in the class had improved a lot. They were almost catching up with Zhuang Yueshi and Gu Jinyu. Some of them were copied, but some of them really understood the questions. The teacher asked them to explain, and they did not make a single mistake. The teacher thought that he was really good and increased the difficulty of the class. Du Xiaoyun's studies were not bad, but they were not the best. She was the type who would rather be scolded than copy other people's homework. So recently, she had been doing her homework until late at night. She had not gone out for a long time. If her sister had not asked her to come to the clinic, she would still be doing her homework in the classroom. "My sister said that you have medicine to remove scars. She's been busy recently and can't come over. She asked me to get the medicine for her." Gu Jiao had only mentioned the medicine to one person before, and that was the third princess consort. Yes, the third princess consort said that her surname was due there was already medicine in the small medicine box. Gu Jiao took out the scar ointment and scar plaster. The scar ointment was squeezed out and put into a well-sealed porcelain bottle. The scar plaster was unpacked. Gu Jiao told her how to use it and charged her 3 taels of silver. Du Xiaoyun was shocked. "So expensive? I'm afraid you're not running a shady shop, right?" This was the most effective scar ointment in the research institute. It cost more than 2,000 yuan, which was more than 2 taels of silver. The scar plaster was also very expensive. She did not make much money from it. "Forget it if you don't want to buy it." Gu Jiao reached out to take the medicine back. The medicine in the small medicine box was so precious that she could not bear to sell it. Du Xiaorun protected the medicine with one hand and put the silver on the table with the other. Buy. If you don't buy it, my sister will chop me into pieces. There are so many imperial doctors in the palace. I don't know why my sister likes your medicine." The third princess consort surgery was not made public. Even Du Xiaorun did not know. Du Xiaoyun only thought that the third princess consort had bumped into something. Today was the last day of the Imperial College's elementary school. It was also the last day of the girls' school. The girls' school had gone through a series of exams. The only exam left was the Guqin. In the music hall, Zhuang Yueshi finished playing a song that she learned this month. There was a round of applause. His performance was simply too spectacular. Zhuang Yueshi came in first place in her poetry and literature exams. She was tied with Gu Jinyu for first place in her arithmetic exams. Her musical skills were her weakness. Everyone thought that her performance would not be satisfactory. Who would have thought that she would improve so quickly in just half a month? For this exam, the crown princess invited the palace musicians and teachers to invigilate it. The musician's surname was Xie. Musician Xie nodded with satisfaction. Miss Zhuang's guqin skills have improved greatly. The teachers gave her an A grade. Musician Xie was stricter and gave her a B grade. But this result was already very good. The next one was Gu Jinyu. Gu Jinyu held the lunar shadow Fushi Guqin and bowed to Musician Xie and the teachers. The teachers also stood up and bowed back. She was the county princess. The etiquette could not be ignored. As a palace musician, Musician Xie also had an official rank. His rank was higher than Gu Jinyu's. He calmly accepted Gu Jinyu's bow. Gu Jinyu's lunar shadow Fushi Guqin was more beautiful than Zhuang Yuexi's Guqin in terms of sound. Furthermore, she had put in more effort than Zhuang Yuexi to practice the Guqin. It was not like she had not practiced for a long time. She practiced every day. In the end, Musician Xie gave her an A grade. Actually, I gave you an A grade not only because you played well. The better you changed the second half of the song. That's right. Gu Jinyu had changed the score. The song they learned was called Chosei. It was an incomplete song passed down from the previous dynasty. Only the first half was left. The second half was compiled by later generations. There were many different versions on the market. The version composed by Lord Lunar Shadow was the most highly regarded. The girls' school taught this version. However, Gu Jinyu had made some slight changes on the basis of this version. She added a gentle and sad mood to it. It was more suitable for women to play. Lord Lunar Shadow was a man after all. His score was more like it was custom-made for male musicians. It was difficult for women to play with such a bold and unrestrained feeling. I'm crying. Miss Gu played so well. A soft-hearted girl wiped her tears and said. She was not the only one who cried. Gu Jinyu counted 4 or 5 girls who were wiping their tears. It was obvious that her arrangement was a huge success. Gu Jinyu was very happy and proud. With Gu Jinyu's performance, the other students could not perform well. They were all inferior. Finally, there was a little girl with a small round face. She was about 14 years old. The girl's school uniform was issued, but the jewelry was her own. She only had a red string on her head and didn't even have the most common pearl hair clip. She got in through the exam, a teacher said to Musician Xie. She was the daughter of a poor family. Her father had studied until he became a scholar. When her father taught her brothers, she listened and learned a little. She was very hardworking. She was passable in other aspects, but her zither skills were a little lacking. Because of her inferiority complex, she did not dare to practice in the brothel. She hid in the quiet pavilion every day. It was so cold that her poor face was frostbitten. The zither she used was the cheapest zither. The tone could not be compared to a good zither, but the pitch was good. She started to play. To be honest, she had improved a lot. If it were not for Zhuang Yuexi and Gu Jinyu, the teachers might have taken a second look at her. The first half of the song was ordinary. Musician Xie covered her face and yawned. The last student came. He picked up the D grade board. The other teachers were also sleepy. But at this moment, she suddenly plucked the strings and the tune went up a notch. This was a song that poured out one's heart. On the night of the wedding, the lover was captured to the battlefield and did not return for 10 years. She played the grief of a young girl towards her lover to the extreme. The first half of the song was also a young girl's memories and grief. But the second half of the song suddenly changed. She seemed to know the truth of why her lover had not returned for 10 years. She looked at the entire battlefield. The tune was no longer about her lover's grief. It was about the battlefield, about the thousands of dead bodies. It was a handful of yellow sand where thousands of heroes had been buried under the golden spears and iron horses. In the end, everyone seemed to see the sun setting in the west. On the yellow sand of the desert, a long sword stood under the setting sun. The hilt of the sword was wrapped with a young girl's veil that fluttered in the wind. Everyone's eyes turned red. They were immersed in the huge shock and could not recover for a long time. Musician Xie was the first to recover. He realized that he was crying. How long had it been since he heard such a soul-stirring song? The young girl's zither skills were not considered excellent. Some parts could even be said to be inexperienced. But it was also because of this inexperience that the second half of the song was so close to breaking down, with nowhere to turn and falling into madness. It was like a song that was tailor-made for her. Unlike Gu Jinyu's slight changes, this young girl could be said to have completely subverted the second half of the song. In comparison, Gu Jinyu's song seemed very petty and could not be brought to the stage. Musician Xie sighed inwardly. Even the top zither player in the 6 countries, Lord Yuing, could not change such a majestic song. This was not a song. It was a person style. Musician Xie suppressed the excitement in his heart and looked at her. "What's your name?" She bowed slightly and said, "Li Wanwan." Musician Xie nodded in satisfaction. The song was changed very well. Li Wanwan opened her mouth. The song, she did not change it. Digression. Who changed it? Who changed it? Oh, asterisk, asterisk. Oh, the latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that cannot be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964286/114364310. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bikugo mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 163. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with substance that cannot be found online are available here. Because Li Wanwan's Guqin skills were not as good as Gu Jinyu and Zhuang Yueshi, she tied with Zhuang Yueshi in the end and took second place in the exam. Although Gu Jinyu managed to secure first place, she could not feel happy. That song was too outstanding. She could feel that she had been completely crushed. She had heard from Consort Shu that the crown princess had invited a musician from the palace for the exam. She had changed the song to amaze musician Xie. Otherwise, she could have easily gotten first place in such a small exam. It would not have been so bad if she had not changed it. She would not have been criticized for taking first place with her skilled Guqin skills. Now, with Li Wanwan as a comparison, her song became a joke. Gu Jinyu would never have thought that her limelight would be stolen by the unremarkable Li Wanwan. After the exam, musician Xie stayed behind to give Li Wanwan some pointers on her Guqin skills. He told her where she needed to improve and gave her a Guqin. It could not compare to the Lunar Shadow Fushi Guqin, but it was much better than the one Li Wanwan had. Gu Jinyu gloomily carried the Lunar Shadow Fushi Guqin out of the brothel. When she went downstairs, she bumped into Zhuang Mengdai. Zhuang Mengdai had gotten the last place. She had been angry, but after seeing Gu Jinyu's situation, she was not angry anymore. She glanced at the Lunar Shadow Fushi Guqin in Gu Jinyu's arms and mocked, "Aya, what's the use of having such a good Guqin? Didn't someone else steal the limelight? You changed the song with that bit of skill? What a joke." Was Gu Jinyu's song bad? Not at all. If not for Li Wanwan's song, she would have been the one to amaze musician Xie today. Gu Jinyu was not as arrogant as Gu Jiao. She was furious and said, "At least I got first place. May I ask what Miss Zhuang's rank was?" Zhuang Mengdia's sore spot. She could not out-talk Gu Jinyu and could only twist her words. "You dare to talk back to me?" Gu Jinyu scoffed. "Speaking of which, I'm a county princess. Miss Zhuang should greet me when she sees me. However, this is a school and we're all schoolmates. I won't argue with Miss Zhuang over etiquette." Zhuang Mengdai was infuriated. "Gu Jinyu, you think you're so great just because you're a county princess? Don't think I don't know what you are. You better not mess with me. Otherwise, I will reveal your secret. Let's see who will still look up to you. Gu Jinyu's face turned green. Of course, she understood what Zhuang Mengdai was referring to. Back then, at the hot spring villa, her father had said in front of Jun Wang that she, Gu Jiao, and Gu Yan were triplets. Unexpectedly, Zhuang Mengdai had already known the truth. How did she know? And Commandery Prince, does he know? The last time he came to look for her, did he not know about her background, or did he not mind even if he knew? Gu Jinyu's heart was suddenly in a mess. Her absent-minded appearance made Zhuang Mengdai think that she was scared by her words. Zhuang Mengdai rolled her eyes in satisfaction and turned to sit on the carriage to return home. On the other side, musician Xie had finished teaching Li Wanwan. Li Wanwan was not in a hurry to go back. Instead, she carried the new guqin to the pavilion where she usually practiced. This place was too secluded. Even the sweeping servants would not come here. Miss, are you there? She looked at the wall and asked. There was no response from behind the wall. Usually, the other party would be there at this time. She thought for a moment and continued to look at the wall. Miss, I passed the exam. Thank you for the song. After she finished speaking, she waited for a while. Only when the snow became heavier did she turn to leave with the guqin. On the other side of the wall, the second boss was moving the chair that Gu Jiao had asked him to buy into the courtyard. He wondered who was the person talking on the other side of the wall. What song was it? Gu Jiao lowered her eyes and flipped through the account book in her hand. Who knows? The second boss did not understand. It could not be his Xiao Gu's song, right? Xiao Gu was an expert at treating people, but she did not know how to compose songs. Even though she had a guqin in her room, it was just for decoration. She had not even touched it before. The snow stopped after a while, but it was still snowing. The second boss was afraid that Gu Jiao would have trouble walking later, so he asked Gu Jiao to go back quickly. Today was the last day of classes at the Imperial College. She promised to pick up little Jingkong. When she arrived at the Imperial College, little Jingkong was already looking around at the entrance. His small body was wearing the Imperial College's uniform, which was very eye-catching. Xiao Lulang was also eye-catching behind him. She did not know how this person grew up. He was becoming more and more beautiful day by day. Jiao Jiao. Little Jingkong saw Gu Jiao and immediately threw away his bad brother-in-law. He bounced over to Gu Jiao. Gu Jiao rubbed his little head and looked at Xiao Lulang. Don't you need to study tonight? There's no need. Xiao Lulang walked over casually. Gu Jiao could not feel the terrifying atmosphere of the Imperial College from him. In fact, because the spring quarter examination was approaching, the Imperial College's tribute students were going crazy. Even Lin Qingye and Feng Lin slept later and woke up earlier than usual. The teachers did not ask for self-study tonight, but Xiao Lulang was the only one who dared to not study. The family of three walked back. It was snowing heavily. Gu Jiao took out the oil paper umbrella from the basket, but little Jingkong said that he wanted to be drenched in the snow. Fortunately, Gu Jiao brought a small cloak for him. He put on the cloak and looked like a little wizard. The little wizard jumped excitedly in the snow. Wah wah wah. Xiao Lulang took the oil paper umbrella and held it above their heads, leaning more toward Gu Jiao. The two of them walked side by side on the main road. The most comfortable way to get along in the world was to not talk and not feel awkward. Both of them enjoyed the tranquility of this moment, as well as the occasional popping sounds coming from the little clear sky. By the way, Gu Jiao thought of something and suddenly asked him, "When is your birthday?" It was written on his household register. It was also written on their marriage certificate. The reason why she still asked this question was because she thought that the birthday on the household register was not his real birthday. She was like this. She would not expose all the windows at once, but she would inadvertently tear down his defenses with a gentle tone that he could not refuse. The 12th lunar month, he said. Oh, it was the 12th lunar month now. Gu Jiao turned to look at him, looking a little cute. What's the date? Xiao Lulang paused and said lightly, New Year's Eve. Gu Jiao smiled. Not yet. That's great. The ancient people did not celebrate their birthdays every year. They only celebrated important ones, such as the first birthday, the 15th birthday of a woman, and the 20th birthday of a man. The coming-of-age ceremony was a man's coming-of-age ceremony. It meant that he could tie up his hair and wear a crown, and he was a real mature man. However, in Gu Jiao's previous life, the 18th birthday was also a very important birthday. That was why she wanted to celebrate it for him. Little Jing Kong, when is your birthday? She stopped little Jing Kong, who was playing in front of her. Little Jing Kong squatted down, grabbed a handful of snow, and made a snowball. New Year's Eve. Gu Jiao said, what a coincidence. Little Jing Kong's eyes lit up. Jiao Jiao's birthday is also on New Year's Eve. Gu Jiao smiled. I'm not, but your brother-in-law is. Little Jing Kong's smile froze, and the snowball in his hand suddenly did not smell good. Why did he have to have the same birthday as his bad brother-in-law? He did not want this birthday anymore. In fact, little Jing Kong's birthday was not necessarily on New Year's Eve. When he was abandoned in the temple, he was only a few months old, and his birth characters were not in his swaddling clothes. According to his age, the abbot estimated that he was born around New Year's Eve, and decided to set his birthday on New Year's Eve. Little Jing Kong asked Xiao Lulang with a gloomy face, why do you have to imitate me on your birthday? Xiao Liulang's mouth twitched. I'm older than you, okay. Who's imitating who? Sigh. Little Jing Kong sighed gloomily. What's wrong? Gu Jiao touched his little head. Could it be that he was so gloomy because his birthday was the same as Xiao Liulang's? Little Jing Kong spread his hands and sighed. In the past, Master always accompanied me on my birthday. No matter where he was, he would always rush back to the temple in time to attend my birthday banquet. Xiao Lulang was confused. A little monk, like you actually had a birthday banquet? What were the conditions in your temple? Little Jing Kong sighed again. The capital is too far away. I'm afraid I won't be able to see Master this year. Gu Jiao imagined a white-haired old monk hobbling to the capital with a walking stick. Well, it was indeed too cruel. He couldn't come. Gu Jiao squatted down and looked at him gently. You can celebrate your birthday with your brother-in-law this year. The two of them were in sync and looked at each other with disdain. Gu Jiao said again, although you can't see your master, you can write a letter to him. Little Jing Kong patted his little head. Right, why didn't I think of that? Little Jing Kong did as he said. That night, he wrote a long letter to his master. The first sentence expressed his deep longing for his master, and the next 99 sentences were all bragging and showing off. Thus was the completion of a serious and sincere letter to home. Xiao Lulang said that he would mail it to his master. He was still worried and insisted on sending it himself. Xiao Lulang had to skip the self-study class at the directorate the next day and took him to a distant post house to send the letter. The post house officer received the letter and was about to put it into the mailbox. Little Jing Kong asked, Is it sent to you, Zhou? The post house officer said, Yes. Little Jing Kong asked again, Can you tell me the address? The post house officer was speechless. The post house officer read the address out loud. Baiyun Temple, Mount Damong, Qingchuan Town, Ping City. Yes, that's right. Little Jing Kong nodded solemnly. Is it urgent? The post house officer said, An ordinary letter can't be sent. It's urgent. Little Jing Kong widened his eyes and said, But it's not an ordinary letter. It was a letter to his master that was full of longing, only one sentence, life discussion, bragging about a fight, and academic exchange, bragging about his many first places. The post house was especially busy at the end of the year. It was because little Jing Kong was too cute that the post house officer patiently talked to him. But now, the post house officer's patience ran out. Do you want to send it or not? He asked. If it's not urgent, I won't send it. Little Jing Kong decisively took the letter. The post house officer was speechless. Xiao Lulang face-bombed. Didn't he just tell the little guy an urgent story not long ago? Because he sent the information in time, he won the battle. Little Clear Sky had no concept of the specific speed and operation of an 800-mile express mail, but he felt that these few words sounded very awesome. So he also sent an 800-mile express mail. Xiao Lulang reached out his hand. "Give me the letter. I'll send you an urgent message." "Are you for real?" Little Jinkong looked doubtful. Xiao Lulang nodded. Really, I guarantee that the letter you send will be an urgent message." Little Jinkong looked serious. "You can't lie to me," Xiao Lulang said seriously. "If I lie to you, I'm a dog." Little Jinkong actually didn't quite understand the meaning of this sentence. Why did the bad brother-in-law become Little 8 when he lied to him? Little 8 was obviously so good, but he still gave the letter to the bad brother-in-law. Xiao Lulang walked back to the post house officer, asked for a writing brush, and wrote a big urgent message on the envelope. Then he asked for a big envelope and put Little Jinkong's letter inside. The post house officer silently gave him a thumbs up. Awesome. After sending the letter, Xiao Lulang took Little Jinkong home. After taking 2 steps, Little Jinkong clamped his legs and jumped up. "I want to pee." Xiao Lulang took Little Jinkong to the toilet of the post house. After Little Jinkong finished peeing, he came out to look for someone. However, he walked in the wrong direction and bumped into a man's leg. Back then, a certain little monk tried to blackmail Gu Jiao in this way. Little Jinkong fell to the ground. The man slowly reached out and helped him up. It was a simple action, but it was full of elegance and nobility. Little Jinkong looked up at the man. He was wearing a heavy purple fox fur coat. He was tall, handsome, and his face was like ice jade. Time didn't leave many traces on his face. He was handsome and tall, and his aura was as heavy as the mountains and rivers. Little Jinkong was stunned. It took him a while to remember that he bumped into the man. He apologized seriously. "I'm sorry." "It's okay," he said lightly. "Well, I'll go then." Little Jinkong walked away. The man turned and walked to the carriage. The 8 guards saluted in unison. "Marquis, digression ding. Your Marquis Xianping is online. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more complete. Millions of novels are free to read. There are all kinds of novels that can't be found on the internet here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642826/114360623. HTML Genius memorized the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bikuga mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 164. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated faster. Millions of novels will be read for free. All the novels that can't be found on the internet can be found here. Marquis Xianping warmed his hands with the fox fur and got into the carriage. Just by looking at his indifferent and elegant demeanor, it was very difficult to associate him with a rank 1 martial marquis who was able to strategize and decide victory from 1,000 miles away. "Let's go back," he ordered. The carriage started to move. The horses in Marquis Xianping's mansion were Fergana horses that could travel thousands of miles in a day. Their momentum alone was enough to scare the horses on the roadside. The cold wind blew, and the canopy fluttered. Marquis Xianping sat in the carriage with his eyes closed. However, he felt something and frowned slightly. He opened his eyes and said, "Stop the carriage." The carriage stopped. Marquis Xianping lifted the curtain and looked back. Other than an inconspicuous carriage, there was nothing else. "Marquis, what's wrong?" a guard asked. He put down the curtain suspiciously and said, "Nothing. Let's go back." "Yes." The carriage gradually went away. This time, it didn't stop. After a long time, Xiao Lulang finally let go of little Jing Kong behind the carriage that Marquis Xianping had seen. Little Jing Kong immediately jumped 3 feet away and looked at his bad brother-in-law angrily. "Why did you keep holding me? Why didn't you let me get into the carriage and covered my mouth? Do you want to do something to me?" Xiao Lulang withdrew his distant gaze and looked at little Jing Kong, who was bristling with anger. "Where did you learn those words? Don't use them." Little Jing Kong stamped his feet and said, "You were wrong first. Why do you care where I learned them?" "Humph. I'm going back to complain to Jiao Jiao." Xiao Lulang looked in the direction of the carriage again and then took little Jing Kong to the carriage that he hired from a market. On the way back, Xiao Lulang was very silent. Although Xiao Lulang was a man of few words, little Jing Kong still faintly felt that there was something wrong with his bad brother-in-law state. Bad brother-in-law was like this the first time he saw a young master. This time, it seemed to be more serious than last time. Was he hiding from someone he knew? Little Jing Kong crossed his arms and fell into deep thought. About half an hour later, the carriage arrived at Clearwater Alley. Little Jing Kong rushed down. "Jiao Jiao Jiao Jiao. I'm back." She was still a child after all. She could easily forget what was on her mind. Today, Feng Lin and Lin Qingye also came over. It was mainly because Lin Qingye wanted to come. "It's almost time for the spring imperial examination. Steward, let me bribe mistress." Lin Qingye said slowly to Gu Jiao as he hugged a few large boxes of local specialties. If Xiao Lulang was his teacher, then Gu Jiao was his teacher's wife. She was even younger than him. To prevent himself from stuttering, Lin Qingye spoke very slowly. He was different from normal people. However, Gu Jiao did not show any surprise. She calmly took the things from him and said, "Thank you. Come in and have a seat." Lin Qingye felt that his teacher's wife was a good person. Very good. Gu Jiao brought the snacks she made. Lin Qingye took a bite and stared at her. Delicious. Delicious. He was so excited that he stuttered. His face instantly flushed red, and he was so embarrassed that he wanted to crawl into a hole. Gu Jiao's expression did not change. She passed the plate forward and said, "There are more at home. I'll pack 2 boxes for you later." Lin Qingye secretly breathed a sigh of relief. In fact, he could no longer hide the fact that he stuttered. Not everyone was hostile to him. Many of them sympathized with him. However, he did not need sympathy. He hoped that he could be treated as a normal person. Gu Jiao's attitude made Lin Qingye feel more comfortable than ever. Xiao Lulang was the same. However, Xiao Lulang was a strict teacher. Lin Qingye was very afraid of him. He felt more comfortable in front of Gu Jiao. "You're not going back for the new year, right?" Gu Jiao asked. Lin Qingye nodded. "The spring examination is coming soon. My father let me study in the capital." The Lin family was very generous. They bought a house near the Imperial College for him to spend the new year. It was not too far from Jadewater Lane. Feng Lin also stayed at the Imperial College. They usually stayed in the same dormitory. Seeing that the holidays were coming, Lin Qingye did not want to leave Feng Lin alone in the cold Imperial College. Thus, he invited Feng Lin to stay at his place. "I'll go." "That's not a good idea. I have to tell Lulang." The main reason was that Feng Lin felt that Xiao Lulang would let him stay here and not trouble Lin Qingye. Of course, he was more inclined to stay here. After all, Jiao Nyang's cooking was better. Lin Qingye said, "I've told Lulang. He agrees. You go." Feng Lin, who was suddenly abandoned by his brother, was speechless. Last year's New Year's Eve was a little sloppy. First, Gu Jiao had just arrived. She was still in a daze and had not completely adapted to her new identity. Well, actually, she was poor. Second, she was poor. This year, she was not so poor. She earned a lot from Lin Qingye. What she earned in the county town was invested in her business. What she earned in the capital was invested in her medical center. However, Xiao Lulang did not only have one business with Lin Qingye. Occasionally, he wrote articles and poems for others. Surprisingly, he earned 100 taels of silver. 100 taels of silver was not a small amount. It was enough to buy a house in the county town. He took out 30 taels of silver to pay little Jing Kong's rent for this month. The remaining 70 taels were given to Gu Jiao for her household expenses. After little Jing Kong received the rent, he stayed in the study and did not leave. Xiao Lulang looked at him indifferently. What's wrong? The amount is wrong? Little Jing Kong was very conflicted. On one hand, he did not want his bad brother-in-law to lie to him. After all, it was the first time he sent an urgent letter. He was looking forward to it. On the other hand, he hoped that his bad brother-in-law lied to him. That way, his bad brother-in-law would become Little Ba. Then, he would be able to squash his bad brother-in-law. Little Jing Kong looked at his bad brother-in-law with a complicated expression. He did not say anything and quietly went out. Little Jing Kong was not very clingy with Xiao Lulang. Usually, unless it was necessary, such as learning a foreign language, he would not come to Xiao Lulang's study. Today, little Jing Kong came to peek from time to time. Xiao Lulang was puzzled. Little Jing Kong was even more puzzled. Why hadn't his bad brother-in-law turned into Little Ba? Little Jing Kong's heart was tilting. For the first time, he hoped that his bad brother-in-law lied to him. He could not wait to squash his bad brother-in-law, who had turned into Little Ba. After the last day of classes, the Imperial College was also on holiday. The next day, Xiao Lulang did not have to go to school. He decided to go to the market with Gu Jiao to buy some New Year goods. In order to buy New Year goods, the couple woke up earlier than usual. When little Jing Kong opened his eyes, Xiao Lulang was no longer in bed. He first went to the study to search. Then, he went to the front and back courtyards. After that, he went to Gu Jiao, Gu Xiaoshun, Gu Yan's rooms, and even the old lady's room. In the end, he concluded that his bad brother-in-law was really gone. Coincidentally, Little Ba ran over while wagging his tail. Little Jing Kong's eyes instantly lit up. They had already bought most of the groceries for the new year. This time, they mainly bought some snacks and things to pass the time. Do you want to buy firecrackers? Xiao Lulang asked. Do we still need to buy firecrackers? Gu Jiao was puzzled. They planted bamboo in the front courtyard. She could cut it down and make firecrackers herself. However, she had never thought about firecrackers before. She still had the mindset from her previous life. She thought that firecrackers were prohibited in the capital. Gu Jiao said, buy some red paper to write couplets and cut the window flowers. Xiao Lulang nodded. Okay. The red paper in the capital looked better than the red paper in the county. Gu Jiao bought more. Xiao Lulang reminded her, you don't have to paste couplets for Xuan Ningxiang's house this year. The red paper last year was given by Feng Lin. Gu Jiao asked Xiao Lulang to send a set of couplets and some window flowers to Xuan Ningxiang's house after he finished writing them. Gu Jiao suddenly missed Xuan Ningxiang. She paused and said, but Granduncle is here. Granduncle's house has to paste couplets. Xiao Lulang thought, are you addicted to having relatives? After they finished shopping, they went back to Qingshui Alley. As soon as they entered the backyard, Xiao Lulang saw little Jing Kong riding on a small bench in the backyard. Gu Yan's puppy was in front of him. Little Jing Kong put on his tiger head shoes and vest for Little Eight. He even took a comb and a headband to tie Little Eight's hair. Of course, he did not tie Little Eight's hair very well. So he went next door to ask his son-in-law to tie Little Eight's hair. He was only in charge of Little Eight now. Zhao was very proud of himself. Little Jing Kong did not like playing with dogs so much in the past. However, he was still a kid. He had a different idea every day. It was not strange for him to be so imaginative. Xiao Lulang was about to leave when he heard little Jing Kong calling out to Little Eight in a flirtatious tone. Ahung, Xiao Lulang's body froze. In the end, little Jing Kong still saw Xiao Lulang. However, he had already determined that Little Eight was his bad brother-in-law. So, was the bad brother-in-law who appeared at the door Little Eight? Little Jing Kong hesitated for a while. He suddenly raised his head and barked at Xiao Lulang. Xiao Lulang, Xiao Lulang. It's so early in the morning. What's wrong with you? Little Jing Kong sighed. He did not know how to bark. He was not Little 8. Sigh. He was quite disappointed. Little Jing Kong was forced to accept that his bad brother-in-law was still a human for the time being. Xiao Lulang was confused. What was going on? Just because he didn't bark with him early in the morning, he was disappointed in him? He didn't even blame him for changing the dog's name. Gu Jiao went to the kitchen to make breakfast. After breakfast, Gu Jiao went to clean up the dishes. Xiao Lulang said, "I'll do it." The old lady said arrogantly, "No need. You do what you need to do. Someone else will do it." That person was the old chancellor. After being robbed of his private money and his house seized, the old chancellor started his days of being ruthlessly exploited by the old lady. There were many things to do at home. Gu Jiao did not go to the clinic these days. However, there was a small patient who had been stitched up on Vermilion Bird Avenue. Today was the day for her to remove the stitches. Gu Jiao packed up the small basket and went out. Xiao Lulang looked at her. "Are you going out?" Gu Jiao nodded. "A house call." Since she could no longer hide her medical skills, Gu Jiao decided not to hide it anymore. "Is it far?" Xiao Lulang asked. "Vermilion Bird Avenue," Gu Jiao said. "I'm going there to deliver something. Let's go together." Xiao Lulang wrote a few articles for a rich young master from the Imperial College. He promised to deliver them to the young master's house before New Year's Eve. Gu Jiao had no objection. Vermilion Bird Avenue was quite far. They hired a carriage. Xiao Lulang sent Gu Jiao to the clinic first. Then he went to deliver the articles. When he came back, he picked up Gu Jiao and went home. Gu Jiao's small patient was 6 years old. She was a lively little girl. It was said that it was because of her character that she fell down from the stairs and cut her leg. Her older sister was a student at the women's school. She heard that the medical skills of the Miracle Hands Hall were good, so she went to the Miracle Hands Hall. "The wound is recovering very well. Don't be afraid. It doesn't hurt." Gu Jiao took a pair of scissors and removed the stitches. The little girl didn't say anything. The woman asked, "Does it hurt?" The little girl shook her head and looked at Gu Jiao with admiration. "It doesn't hurt. Older sister is very good. Mother, when I grow up, I also want to be a doctor." The woman was surprised. Doctors, in Zhao country, their status was actually very low. Needless to say, female doctors had the status of a servant. They lived in Vermilion Bird Avenue, so they weren't ordinary people. How could they be willing to let their daughter become a lowly female doctor? The little girl in front of her, was it because her family was poor that she had to become a female doctor? Not every patient was like her daughter, who was injured on the leg. Some lesions occurred in unclean places. How could a person of noble status go to those places? Moreover, she heard that when the clinic was busy, the female doctor had to treat men. Wouldn't her innocence be gone? How could she get married in the future? Any family that paid attention to details wouldn't send their daughter to be a female doctor. Gu Jiao didn't look at the embarrassment on the woman's face. Instead, she pinched the little girl's face and said softly, "It's not easy to be a doctor. You have to be literate, study, diligent, and willing to endure hardships. If you make a bad dish, you just miss out on a meal. If you treat someone wrongly, you'll lose a life. The responsibility is very heavy." The little girl seemed to understand. She thought of something and lowered her head. She weakly asked, "But they say that female doctors are lowly." Gu Jiao said lightly, "Born as a human, how can there be lowly?" The woman suddenly blushed with shame. She looked down on female doctors. But at this moment, her heart was deeply shocked. She couldn't tell if it was because of the words that came out of the other's mouth, or the belief in the other's eyes. Digression. I've been frantically writing for the past few days. I'll reply in a few days. Good night. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet are all available here. https://www.zhpqg.com/8964-_ HTML Genius remembers this site's address in 1 second. www.zhpqg.com Bikuga mobile reading website. zhpqg.com. Chapter 165. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more frequently. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found on the internet are all available here. When Gu Jiao walked out of the house, Xiao Lulang was not there yet. Coincidentally, diagonally across the street was a shop that sold sugar-coated haws. This was where she saw Gu Yan and Gu Chongqing last time. The sugar-coated haws they bought were beautiful, clean, and varied. Gu Jiao walked over and said, "Boss, give me 3 sticks of sugar-coated haws, 1 stick of sugar-coated tangerine, and 1 stick of sugar-coated yam eggs." Sugar-coated yam eggs were little Jing Kong's favorite. They were round, sticky, and did not require the core to be spat out. The boss smiled and said, "Okay, miss. That will be 100 copper coins." The prices in the capital were really high. In the county, a stick of sugar-coated haws only cost 3 to 4 copper coins. The roadside stalls in the capital cost 10 copper coins, but this shop doubled the price. However, there were more sugar-coated haws in the capital, and it was close to the end of the year. Gu Jiao felt relieved. She paid the money, wrapped the sugar-coated haws in paper, and put them in her basket. Gu Jiao felt that it was not a bad idea to wait for Xiao Lulang here. Just as this thought flashed through her mind, she sensed that someone was watching her. In her previous life, if she could not discover that she was being watched, she would have died 800 times. Gu Jiao turned her head. The other party did not expect Gu Jiao's intuition to be so sharp. He did not have time to hide, and could only quickly disappear into the crowd. Gu Jiao thought that he had left, so she ignored him. Xiao Lulang could come over at any time, and she did not want to miss him. Unexpectedly, the other party did not give up. After a while, he pushed open a window on the 2nd floor of an inn, drew his bow, and aimed at Gu Jiao. He even used his bow. It seemed that he was really determined to die. Gu Jiao said to the owner of the Tonghulu shop, "Boss, if a good-looking young man comes to find me in a while, the best kind, ask him to wait for me here." The best-looking? The boss was a little confused. "Miss, your tone is a bit big. I've been running a shop here for more than 20 years, and I've seen the royal family. What kind of person is the most beautiful? Could he be prettier than a member of the royal family?" The royal bloodline of Zhao country was pretty good. First of all, the emperor was very good-looking. The concubines he married into the palace were all great beauties. How could the princes and princesses they gave birth to not be good-looking? The boss didn't take it to heart. After all, if someone came to ask about her later, he would just tell them the truth. Gu Jiao entered then opposite. "Miss, would you like to eat or stay?" A waiter came up to her. Gu Jiao ignored him and walked up to the 2nd floor. The layout of this inn was a little complicated, with many twists and turns. But Gu Jiao's sense of space was very good. In an instant, she calculated that it was the 3rd room on the left in the east corridor. Gu Jiao entered the room. That person slipped away quickly and actually climbed up to the roof from the window. Gu Jiao leaned half of her body out of the window and looked up. She grabbed the window frame with one hand and jumped up to the roof. This time, she finally saw the person's appearance. It was a man. He was dressed in black. Gu Jiao tiptoed and picked the tile. She lifted her leg and kicked the tile at the person. That person didn't expect that Gu Jiao could use such a move while chasing someone. He couldn't dodge in time and was knocked down to the roof by the huge impact of the tile. Gu Jiao heard a crisp sound of collision as if something iron had hit the roof tiles. It was that person's face. That person was wearing an iron mask. Gu Jiao had already guessed who he was. The #1 bandit in the capital, Flying Frost. Gu Jiao narrowed her eyes and chased after him in a few steps. It was too late to get up and run. That person looked around and rolled down from the edge of the roof. Oh, he had some brains. He was much better than those idiots in the dojo. It had been a long time since she met an opponent who could give her a second move. Gu Jiao's lips curled up in a wicked smile. Below was the courtyard of a brothel. Gu Jiao jumped down. The music in the brothel masked the person's footsteps and breathing. It was difficult for a normal person to determine the person's exact location. But Gu Jiao was the organization's #1 agent who could accurately identify the person's footsteps from more than 100 different sounds. When she passed by a small cubicle with a curtain, she suddenly reached out and pulled a black shadow out of the cubicle. She slammed the shadow to the ground. That person groaned and felt that his brain was about to scatter. What was this girl's background? Her skills had improved a lot. But he was not someone to be trifled with. He had been careless just now, but he would not be careless now. He threw out a packet of powder and used the powder as cover to escape into the corridor. There were only a few people who had escaped from Gu Jiao's hands in her previous life. It seemed that he had not recovered his strength from his previous life. Gu Jiao chased after him and entered a dark basement. That person seemed to have disappeared into thin air. Strange. Where did he go? Also, wasn't this a brothel? Why was there such a big basement? Was it a storage room, or, while she was thinking, footsteps came from the entrance? Gu Jiao hid behind a large cabinet. Someone walked in with an oil lamp. With the weak light of a lamp, Gu Jiao could see the scene clearly. This was not an ordinary basement. There were 2 rooms in total. The one outside seemed to be a place to receive guests, and the one she was standing in looked like a storage room. There were 2 young women in total. One of them was holding the lamp, while the other lifted the curtain to look into the storage room. It seemed that this was a routine inspection, but she knew that there would be no one in the storage room, so she did not go in. She put down the curtain and said to the other person, "Light the food and serve the tea." Okay, that person lit the lamp. Because the light outside was very bright, Gu Jiao's room was very dark. It was more convenient for her to hide. After the 2 of them tidied up the tea room, a woman wearing a light blue curtain and white clothes came in. The woman's face was covered, but her figure was tall and graceful. Her hands were slender and delicate. She was obviously a daughter of a wealthy family. After she entered the room, she gestured to the 2 maids. The 2 of them tactfully retreated. She was the only one left in the large tea room. Gu Jiao was hesitating whether or not she should openly walk out. Just then, a man wearing a heavy purple fur coat walked in. From Gu Jiao's point of view, the man was too tall. His eyebrows, nose, and mouth were all blocked by the door frame of the storage room. Only his delicate chin could be seen. The man sat down across from the woman. This time, Gu Jiao could not see him at all. The other side of the table was Gu Jiao's blind spot. The only person Gu Jiao could see was the woman wearing the curtain. But with the curtain covering her, everything about her was faintly discernible. "You've returned to the capital. Is the princess well?" the woman asked. Although Gu Jiao could not see her expression, she could hear the respect in her voice. If this woman's voice was in her previous life, it would be considered a heavenly sound. The man across from her spoke. His voice was neither fast nor slow, deep and reserved. "She is well. Thank you for your concern, Your Highness." Her Highness the Princess? Your Highness? It seemed that these 2 people had powerful backgrounds, and they were meeting in this kind of place. Their whereabouts could not be known to outsiders. Gu Jiao. So they were waiting for her here? They went through so much trouble to lure her here just to have her clash with these 2 important people, so that they could use them to silence her? She just did not know where that guy was hiding. The woman spoke again. "I'm relieved to hear that the princess is well." The man said, "Your Highness called me out. Is there something you need?" The woman sighed and said, Empress, it sounds strange. You should call me Lin Lang, like before. The man said, this subject does not dare. Gu Jiao thought. Although he said that he did not dare, his aura was clearly higher than the sky and wider than the sea. The woman did not continue to force him. Instead, she pushed a bundle on the table in front of the man. Actually, it's nothing much. It's just that New Year's Eve is approaching. With my current status, it's not convenient for me to pay respect to him. Please help me burn these joss paper and incense sticks for him. Your Highness is too kind. The man's voice was emotionless. The woman looked at him. Do you blame me? The man said, Your Highness worries too much. The woman said sadly, I'm very sorry that I couldn't call you father as I wished in this life. However, in my heart, you are the same as my father. In fact, I respect you even more. The man said, Your Highness is too serious. She was most afraid of the atmosphere suddenly becoming awkward. The man did not seem to like to talk, so when the woman did not speak, the room became quiet. Suddenly, the woman lowered her head and coughed a few times. The man finally took the initiative to speak. Your Highness, are you feeling unwell? The woman shook her head. It's nothing. It's just a cold. The man said, Your Highness must take care of your body. The woman nodded. I will. Gu Jiao could still hear the man's concern for the woman. Speaking of the body, I thought of something. The woman said thoughtfully. Ever since His Majesty and the first prince returned from their southern tour, they never set foot in the imperial harem again. I heard that during their southern tour, they encountered an immortal Taoist priest. That Taoist priest taught His Majesty the art of immortality. He requested His Majesty to burn incense and pray every day and not approach women for 2 years. Even Imperial Mother has not seen His Majesty for a long time. The man said, Your Highness means, the woman said, I suspect that the Taoist priest was arranged by the first prince. This southern tour is not simple. The man said, I understand. I will send someone to investigate that Taoist priest. It's getting late. If there's nothing else, this subject will take his leave. The woman stood up and bowed to the man like a junior. The man returned the courtesy of a subject. After that, the man left the underground tea room. The woman sat in the tea room for a while and planned to leave. However, at this moment, something unexpected happened. With a loud bang, the entire basement's roof cracked open and collapsed. Crown Princess, accompanied by the screams of the maids on the ground. The Crown Princess was buried under the ruins. And buried with her was Gu Jiao, who was in the storage room. Digression. There's one more chapter, 8 o'clock. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964226/114326937. HTML Genius memorized this site's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bikuga mobile reading website. zhbqg.com that you're tuning in to the Echo Reads YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.